Mo Shanghua thought that the road would go smoothly, but she still took a few wrong steps in the dark road. It's not that I went into the killing array. I just went to a dead end and had to go back the same way. It took a lot of time. In this dark road for a long time, I don't know how long it took for me to walk. When I finally passed a winding place, I saw a bright light on the road ahead. The flower eye color on the street is a condensation, but there is no hurry to come forward, but pull out the hairpin between the hair and throw it to the bright light. The silver hairpin fell on the ground, rolled a few rolls on the ground, and stopped in Cancan, but there was no movement. Mo Shanghua just breathed a sigh of relief, walked forward, and then saw the top of the head of the bright exit suddenly covered with a green slate. The exit from the outside closed, issued a heavy dull sound. Little bitch, since you have come in, you can't go out anymore. You will stay here for the rest of your life. Jiang Wu's wild voice came from above, and he seemed very proud. The color of flower eyes on the street changed slightly, but it didn't stop for a moment. Suddenly, the toe of the foot was on the ground, and the whole person jumped up, and the palm of the hand pushed towards the bluestone board on the top of the head. The bluestone suddenly trembled, and then it was forced to lift up, showing the bright spots outside. But the flower on the street did not dare to hesitate, and took advantage of the gap, and slipped out from the gap like a light butterfly. In the dark road for a long time, outside the sun spend a time also some do not adapt, cannot help but squint, drooping eyes to their just out of the direction. The bluestone slab she had just pushed away had been broken into two on the floor nearby, while Jiang Wu, who had already moved to the cabinet beside the entrance of the cave, had fallen on the ground askew, as if it was caused by the huge impact of the bluestone slab just now. As for Jiang Wu, he was very unlucky to be pressed under the cupboard, but his body was not pressed, and his only leg was pressed to death. His face was twisted and he could not help scolding bitch. Such a big noise fell, and there was a commotion outside. After a while 10 bodyguards rushed in. The flower on the street squinted and found that it was Yan Beicheng. Guard see the situation inside the house is also Lung Lung. And then busy kneel down in front of the flowers on the street, see princess. Tie up Jiang Wu, you all get up first. Mo Shanghua nodded. Mao Guang swept a circle in the house. See this house furnishings extravagant. Lu Mei micro see you. I ask you, here is the sheriff's house? Yes. Well, this must be Jiang Wu's bedroom. Unexpectedly, in addition to burying the secret road in the study, Jiang Wu even digs here in all directions. He must have emptied the whole land in Wujuan City. The flower eyes on the street were a little pale, and walked slowly to Jiang Wu, who had been suppressed by the guards. As soon as the guards saw the flowers coming, they were not in a hurry to tie up Jiang Wu and knelt him down. Jiang Wu's leg had just been crushed by the cupboard, and it was almost broken. Since then he heard a click sound, and his leg bone directly dislocated. The pain made him cry again. Mo Shanghua saw that he was so miserable. He never frowned and looked down at him. First, your secret way didn't trap me. Second, it didn't protect me. It just delayed the time of your death. Jiang Wu's face was completely twisted, and he couldn't even care about the pain in his legs. His eyes were full of hatred. Little bitch, do you really think that if you kill me, everything will be all right? It's a dream. I'll tell you the truth, I'm from the Imperial City. If you kill me, the Imperial City will immediately know that you and your wastewood will not survive. Besides, I've already sent a message to the Imperial City about the change of that rubbish. You are all dead. The color of mockery in the flower eyes on the street is getting stronger and stronger, and the vermilion lips are curving coldly. So what about knowing? Her eyes, which used to be pure and clear, were now filled with pride and self-confidence, as if she were the queen above. Jiang Wu was stunned, and then suddenly thought that this place was also the emperor of Tiangao. His eyes suddenly burst with a thick color of reluctance, and he could not help gritting his teeth. You are absolutely rampant for a long time. You must be like me. It's a bad ending. Take it down. After a hard day's work, Mo Shanghua didn't want to waste her words with Jiang Wu, so she told her to go on. The bodyguards did not move, hesitated for a moment. One of them said, "Report back to the princess. The prince has just given an order. If you catch this person, kill immediately. By the way, the Lord is looking for you. He seems very anxious." To me. Mo Shanghua's attention is put on the second half of the sentence. There is a moment of confusion in the eyes, and then seems to think of something. The eyes of the micro cannot be checked across a bit of chagrin, more delicate than the hair cannot be checked. She had only focused on catching Jiang Wu before, and she didn't have time to talk to Mo Ling, let alone leave a mark in the secret way. It must be that Yan Beiqing thought she was in Jiang Wu's plan at this time. It is chagrin at the moment. Behind the dark road suddenly came a slight movement. Mo flower eyes suddenly surge on the color of vigilance. Plain hand once again touched the waist blood dagger. Unexpectedly, the movement rang for a while, but suddenly a man came out of the cave. The flower on the street looked carefully, and saw that the man was Yanbei City. Yan Beiqing's description at this time was not embarrassed, but his hair was a little messy. What's more surprising is that at this time, his original dandy style has disappeared, and his whole body is full of tyranny. It seems that with a little bit, he can completely explode. He narrowed his eyes and swept around the room. When the light of his eyes fell on the flower, he suddenly had a meal. Most of the violence in his eyes faded in a flash, leaving only a little surprise, a little joy of recovery, and a little emotion that he could not understand. The next second, he suddenly came forward and hugged Mo Shanghua in his arms. He pressed her head into his chest, as if he wanted to rub her into his body. Mo Shanghua was almost out of breath. Mo Shanghua was stunned for a long time before she came back to herself. She subconsciously raised her hand and gently pushed Yan Beiqing, but failed to push him away. Instead, she was hugged more tightly. For a moment she was stunned. She didn't know what to do. She didn't even know how to put her hands and feet. For the first time, she was a bit helpless in her eyes. The surrounding air seems to be at this moment, stagnating and gluing down. For a long time, Mo Shanghua thought later that Yan Beiqing should be worried about her. That's why I'm so excited. That's why I hold her tight. Her tentative Yan Beiqing whispered in his ear, with a bit of helplessness in his voice. I have nothing to do. Her tentative Yan Beiqing whispered in his ear, with a bit of helplessness in his voice, but did not expect Yan Beiqing body meal, and then gently pushed her away from his arms, two hands holding her delicate cheek, drooping eyes deeply staring at her. At this time, Yanbei City seemed to be back to normal, but it was not the way he looked like King Yu in front of outsiders. It was like the momentum of a man in a cloak, but it was not like him. In the eyes of the cloak people, they are always indifferent, deep and unpredictable. But in front of Yan Beiqing, although the look in the eyes is still unpredictable, it clearly reflects the delicate cheek of flowers on the street. The flower on the road can't help but be a zheng again, haven't walked out from his eyes for a long time. It was Yan Beiqing who regained his mind and held her in his arms again. In a flash, his voice returned to his usual dandy appearance, with some grievances. Princess, you can make me easy to find. Before the flowers on the street could speak, Jiang Wu could not help exclaiming. You are all pretending to be crazy. What's more, it's impossible for ordinary people to find an exit without being trapped for 10 or 8 days. It's okay to have flowers on the street. If Yanbei City is really a waste wood, how can it be so smooth? It seems that he is not only a waste wood, but also a genius in 10,000. Yan Beiqing's eyes flashed a very fine intention to kill, and his voice was impatient. Why is this old boy still here? I said that if I catch him, I will kill him. The bodyguard knelt down and pleaded guilty. Jiang Wu's face was frightened again. Mo Shanghua grabs Yan Beiqing's arm and shakes his head. Yan Beiqing, some of the remaining parties in Wujuan have not been eliminated. This man can't be killed. Yan Beiqing frowned slightly and looked down, as if thinking. For a long time he raised his head, flat mouth, face of reluctance. Then listened to the princess, take him down, good health care. The bodyguards were relieved, and then tied up Jiang Wu and took him down. By that time, it was already bright outside. Mo Shanghua glanced at the sky outside, and then relaxed a little. She casually found a rag to wipe away the bloody dagger, and then found a seat to take a rest. Yan Beiqing brought a chair, and sat down next to her. He ordered someone to bring a pot of tea. He poured it in front of the flowers on the street and said with a smile, "The princess has been busy for so long. She must be thirsty. Drink some quickly." Mo Shanghua nodded and drank the tea. Just put down the teacup. Yan Beiqing came forward and carefully raised her hand to wipe off the water stains on her lips. Mo Shanghua pushed away Yan Beiqing's hand, turned his head and didn't look at Yan Beiqing's eyes. He said as if to resolve the embarrassment. By the way, when Jiang Wu's party members are removed in a few days, you can put people in, and then Jiang Wu will directly commit rebellion and previous crimes, beheading on the street, as for the Imperial City side. Thinking of this, I can't help frowning slightly. My eyes are a little worried. Jiang Wu seems to have found your abnormality a few days ago. He has sent someone to report to the Imperial City quietly. With a few trash he sent out? Yan Beiqing is disdainful of hook lips, eyes full of fearless color. Princess need not worry, those people have been waiting for Jiang Wu below. As for the Imperial City. After a pause, he smiles and pours a cup of tea into the hand of the flower. I'm a man, but I'm the one who supports everything. You just need to be your princess. I'll be fine. Mingming looks at such an unreliable person on weekdays. When he says these words, he feels inexplicable peace of mind. It seems that he has taken a reassuring pill. Good. The corner of the lips of the flowers on the street is shallow, and the worry between the eyebrows and eyes dissipates. Yan Beiqing's lips rose with him. He was in a good mood. I've never seen you smile like this before. Mo Shanghua raised her hand and touched her lips, feeling a little trance in her heart. Her heart is cold. She seldom laughs with her heart. Most of her heart is just for fun. Now why on earth, when he was puzzled, Yan Beiqing suddenly came up to her and stared at her cheek. You look pretty when you smile. They all say that people are just like their names. It seems that I still don't know what your name is. As he spoke, a dark color rose from the bottom of his eyes. To be honest, he had overheard her many times and knew her name. But she never said it to him personally, and he always felt sorry for it in his heart. After Yan Beiqing said so, Mo Shanghua seemed to realize that he had never mentioned his name to him. Once upon a time, I didn't think it was necessary. Now that he asked, she didn't have to hide anything. Flowers on the road. She turned her eyes slightly, her voice was clear and calm, like the breeze in the valley, and she rode from the heart of Yan Beiqing. Flowers on the street. He drooped his eyes and whispered softly. The thick eyelashes covered up the look in his eyes. The flowers on the street stared at him for a long time, only wondering, what's the matter, but what's wrong? No, it's just nice. Yan Beiqing suddenly raised his eyes. His smiling eyebrows were curved and his eyes were shining. It's getting late. You go back to clean up and eat something. You don't have to worry about other things. I will do it well. Late at night has been working. Mo Shanghua nature is also tired. Listened to him say so, then also nodded. Good. Then he got up and went back. See Mo Shanghua go far. Yan Beiqing also got up, turned to go to the main hall. Mo Ling and others had been waiting in the hall for a long time. When they saw Yan Beiqing coming, they all saluted in turn. Yan Beiqing went to several people and waved to them to get up. I hear the princess has been found. The room has not been quiet for a while, Mo Ling tentatively asked. Yan North City light ere, obsidian like dark deep eyes, no wave no land, but also unpredictable. But fortunately, there is no anger. My subordinates will go to get the punishment when they have something to report. Mo Lingwei breathed a sigh of relief. The family members Jiang Wu sent away quietly a few days ago have been captured. The leaders in the city have also been captured. Only a few of them are still running away. Their subordinates have already ordered people to catch them. They will be able to catch them in a few days. However, how to deal with these people, please show me. The city gate will continue to be closed for one day until those people are caught. The city gate will be open tomorrow morning, but strict investigation is still needed to prevent the rest of the party from escaping. Yan Beiqing seemed to have thought it over for a long time, but without thinking about it he just said, after catching those people, they will all be killed 3 days later. Jiang Wu's family members are just like the old law. They can do whatever they want to do. Yes. Mo Ling's eyes should be lowered, and he has written it down in his heart. Yan North City negative hand stands in front of a few people, then seemed to think of what general, open mouth again. The person that Lu Jun transfers arrived? It's already here. Arrange for them to hand over the affairs of Wujuan as soon as possible. Yan Beiqing's voice was steady. Everything seemed to have been planned in his heart, and he arranged it in an orderly way. Just after giving orders, a dark way suddenly ran in and knelt down on one knee. Lord, there are still some trivial things in the Lin family. You need to deal with them yourself. Yan Beiqing had been busy for a long time for the fat meat of the Lin family. Seeing this, he didn't say much. He nodded his head and ordered some other things. Then he changed his clothes and went. In recent days, everything in Wujuan has been dealt with by Yanbei City, and the gate of the city can't get out for a while. It's rare for the flowers on the street to steal their leisure time. Just listen to the news Qinya inquires about every day. This day, Mo Shanghua had nothing to do after dinner, so he leaned on the beauty couch to read the historical books. Seeing this, Qinya took a plate of fruit and put it on the table beside her. Princess, I heard that Jiangwu had already killed her. Do you know that there are still robbers today? As a result, the Lord has long expected and deliberately set up a plan. Not only those people will never come back, but also all the rest of the party will be killed. Mo Shanghua has learned about the strength of Yanbei City in recent days. For example, the officials in charge of the upper and lower affairs in the city reshuffle their cards and become their own people in just 2 days. Even the order of the city has not been affected much. For example, Jiang Wuyu's party, by blocking the gate of the city and instigating trouble among the people, almost fought with the city guards. Before waiting for her to be informed, Yan Beiqing dealt with it by himself. It can be seen how deep his disguise has been for so many years. Mo Shanghua has long been used to listening. Mao Guang did not leave from the page, only nodded faintly. I know. Qinya's face was full of excitement. She was about to talk about something. Yu Guang glanced at Yan Beiqing, who was coming behind her. She hushed and retreated quietly. The flowers on the street are enchanted and have never been noticed. Yan Beiqing took the scroll out of her hand and looked at her with a full face of resentment. What did the princess see so absorbed? Even the king didn't care. Mo Shanghua sat up slowly and took the book back and put it in place. She explained in a low voice. Just look at it casually. Are you done with your affairs? It's almost there. Yan Beiqing nodded casually, and then came to her mysteriously. I'm here this time, but I've prepared a small gift for you. What gift? The eyebrows and eyes on the street are still the same color. Knowing that Mo Shanghua had always been indifferent and didn't like to guess, Yan Beiqing took a small stack of paper from her sleeve, put it into her hand and looked at her with a smile. Mo Shanghua looked at the papers one by one. After reading them all, she was a little surprised and frowned. Isn't this Lin's shop? How can you have these? You don't care how you came here. You just need to know, and then you will take care of all these things for the time being. Yan Beiqing was afraid that the flowers would not be collected, so he told a lie. Mo Shanghua's ruddy lips are slightly pursed. Looking down at these shop wedges, I feel complicated. How could she not know that it was all Yan Beiqing's pretext? But why did he treat himself so well? They were just mutually beneficial. If they were given to him, he would not get the same benefits. On the other hand, if these things fall into her hands and Qianlin is there, she will have the whole wealth of Wu County in her hands. He is not afraid that she will try to make huge profits and stir up the people's riots just like Qianlin? Yan Beiqing seemed to see her idea, but he couldn't help laughing again. You're not thinking about why I'm so good to you, are you? Don't think about it. It's just because I have so many things on hand that I can't help it. But only he knows that these things are not easy to get. Mo Shanghua eyebrow heart still don't show. Can't help but lift eyes to stare at Yan Beiqing's eyes to see, but always can't see through, simply don't conjecture. Temporarily put things away. However, in front of Yan Beiqing, she suddenly didn't know what to say. She could not help holding the corner of her clothes and was worried. As if he could not see her thoughts, Yan Beiqing put his face directly in front of her, just like a dandy, and said with a smile, I know that you are excited, and I don't know what to do. In this way, you will treat it as a gift in return. Yan Beiqing's good and white face was close to his eyes. Hua Er Zhen in the street couldn't help getting hot. He pushed him away. Wu got up and stepped back a few steps. Don't play a rascal. I won't do that. Yan Beiqing's eyes swept over her red-run earlobe, and her deep eyes could not help but catch a faint smile. Just as she was about to step forward, Mo Ling burst in at this time, looking in a hurry, as if there was something urgent to report. Yan Beiqing suddenly, as if he had been hit by a good thing, said angrily, "What's the matter in such a hurry?" Mo Shanghua sees this. The earlobe is more and more hot. Busy called Qinya to come over. "Qinya, let's go first." Qinya with a smile, busy nodding, such as pounding garlic behind the flowers. "My king has allowed you to go?" Yan Beiqing frowned unhappily and pulled the flower back directly. Then he didn't give her the chance to speak. He said to himself, "Mo Ling, you just say that there is no one else here." Mo Shanghua's wrist was tightly held by Yan Beiqing, and he couldn't get rid of it. He wanted to refute it. His eyes swept to Mo Ling. After thinking about it, he calmed down and watched quietly for a while. Mo Ling has become more and more accustomed to Yan Beiqing's indulgence in Mo Shanghua. He nods, takes out an urgent secret letter from his sleeve, and hands it to Yan Beiqing. Yan Beiqing opened and looked closely, but his face was dignified, and his hand holding the flowers on the street was relaxed. Huamei's heart beat. Before he could ask questions, he saw Yan Beiqing throw the letter to Mo Ling, and the color behind it was dignified. He said, "Take some people with you and leave immediately. I'll catch up with you later." After reading the contents of the secret letter, Mo Ling's face was also dignified. He answered in a busy voice, "Yes." "What happened?" Mo Shanghua's eyes were a little confused, and he could not help asking softly. Yan Beiqing was silent for a while. He just turned his eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. His eyes were dark and deep. "Something urgent happened. I have to leave Wujuan. However, Wujuan has just settled down. There is no danger. You have to leave Wujuan with me." After a pause, he raised his hand and gently grasped the soft hands of flowers on the street. "I will send you back to Yuzhou first, and I will start tonight." Although Mo Shanghua didn't know what Yan Beiqing was doing, he knew that it must be a bit tricky. He nodded. "Okay, I'll clean it up now and come back to you in the evening." Yan Beiqing is not sure because she can't help now. Besides, she has nothing to do in Wujuan now. It's time to go back. There's no need to stay here. Yuzhou is the place where she should go back to fight. It is an indispensable step for her revenge. Mo Shanghua left Qin Lin in Wujuan for the time being, and asked him to look after the fields in the suburbs. He also took care of Qian Lin and the Lin family, so he packed up and went back to Yuzhou with Yan Beiqing. Wujuan was only 2 days away from Yuzhou. Because of the emergency, he rushed to Yuzhou in only 1.5 days. Yanbei City didn't even enter Yuzhou City, so he said goodbye to Mo Shanghua and rushed to the border. At that time, it was only noon. Before she arrived at the palace, she saw many figures standing in front of the palace. It seems that most of them are women. On the street, Huasu gently lifted the curtain of the carriage and looked out carefully. Seeing this, her eyes were a bit thoughtful. After a long time, he closed his eyes and sat back again. "Princess, what's the matter? But what's wrong?" Qinya sits on the side of the flower on the street and asks in a low voice. "Nothing." Mo Shanghua shakes her head and doesn't want to say more. Seeing this, Qinya didn't ask much, so she nodded and said nothing more. Just as they were talking, the steady speed of the carriage slowed down. Then a respectful voice came in. "Princess, here you are. Please get out of the car." Before the flowers on the street answered, Qinya went ahead and helped her down slowly beside the carriage when the flowers came out. Mo Shanghua stood still, and his eyes were light, which swept slowly from the door of King Yu's mansion. The gate of the palace is as brilliant as ever, and the figure you just saw from afar is clear at this time. It is the Yings in the affiliated courtyard of Yanbei City, and Nanha is the leader. Today's season, although it is not yet summer, is not as refreshing as in the past, and just in the afternoon, some Ji concubines' faces are sweating, their makeup is beaten by sweat, some flowers, and their faces are quite impatient. Nanha, who is independent in the front, has sweat on his face, but he doesn't know what kind of powder he used. His makeup is not in disorder, and he can't see half of his impatience on his face. As soon as she saw the flowers coming, she took the lead to step forward, Ying Fu body, Maidservant concubine rate each courtyard Ji concubine, welcome the princess back to the house. Ji Chia, who followed her, responded and followed Fu Shen to salute. Get up. The flowers on the street gathered a bit of tired color on the face and spoke in a low voice. Princess Xia. The flower on the street nodded her chin, and her eyes could not help falling on Nanhe. I came back in a hurry, but I didn't have time to send someone to inform me. Nanji's news is very good. I'll wait here early. It's really hard for you. Nanha slightly narrowed his eyes and staggered the sight of the flowers on the street. The etiquette was very comprehensive. The Lord sent someone to send a letter back early in the morning. The concubine Wang is the main room, and the maids and concubines should welcome each other in person. Princess, I've already ordered people to prepare lunch. This meeting should be almost over. Emo Shanghua's eyes swept from Nanhe's face. Seeing that her face was neither humble nor overbearing, and her posture was dignified and gentle, she couldn't see any flaws. Her eyes couldn't help deepening. This person may be more difficult to deal with than Lu Qianqian. In her heart, she just glanced at her face. Then she went around Nanha and went to the mansion. Who can I show you? Pingji saw the flowers on the street go away, and she wiped the sweat on her cheek with a handkerchief. She grumbled discontentedly. The rest of the concubines were discontented. You and I are concubines of Ji. We should be waiting for the princess here. What can we complain about? South Crane thin eyebrow light Siyu, softly rebuke. Yen Beiqing is favored by Nanhe, and everyone in the house knows about it. At this time, when he sees her admonishment, he is also very angry. He has to reluctantly accept the dissatisfaction on his face. Yes, I am taught. We are all sisters. We don't have to. Get up quickly. Nanha said so, but he didn't go to help Pingji up. I've been drying here for so long. Sisters, no matter how hot the weather is, this makeup will never be used. Later, I'll ask Yuaner to send you a box. It's the right as an apology for bringing you here to wait. Ji Chia, who had been dissatisfied with each other's faces, softened a lot and began to flatter with a smile. If Emo Shanghua saw this scene, he would have a good sigh. The South Crane slapped a sweet jujube. He really had a good time. He gave himself a good impression, not to mention, but also gave her a lot of hatred by the way. Emo Shanghua just arrived in the hall. Nanhe's maid followed her and led her to the master's seat. Then she told the servant girls to arrange the dishes as soon as possible. These dishes are all very exquisite, and the banquet is also very well arranged. It can be seen that Nanha really bothered. Emo Shanghua sits on the top of the throne, but she doesn't move her chopsticks. Yu Guang sweeps the tardy Nanhe and others. After they sit down, she moves her chopsticks. After a whole day's driving, the dry food on the road was no more delicious than these meals. Just now, she just kept the etiquette and didn't let go. Nanha sits gracefully on the flower's head in the street, and his eyes scan the flower quietly from time to time, and the dark light flickers in the deep of his pupils. The princess and the prince have been away for more than a month. My concubine heard that there are many mobs in Wujuan, which is extremely unsafe. I don't know what trouble the princess has encountered. The flower head on the street also did not lift, after swallowing the thing in the mouth, just slowly enunciation. Small trouble, just calculate not what. It's true that with the prince, how could those mobs hurt the princess? South Crane suddenly seems to think of what general, some trance whisper. Pingji's pupil turned around and said bitterly, no, when the prince was in the mansion, he protected the princess everywhere. He loved the princess as much as Sister Nanha. Like us, we don't see the Lord once in 10 days and a half. Emo Shanghua can't see Pingji's meaning. She doesn't understand it, so she continues to eat and ignore it. Elder sister, don't say that. You are the old man in the mansion. My younger sister is just a newcomer, and the Lord has more pity on me. South Crane angry Pingji one eye, turned to see to Emo Shanghua. In the end, the princess is the king's top pet. This is to encourage her to show off how good Yanbei City was to her in Wujuan? What does Nanha want to know? The flower eyebrows and eyes on the street are drooping, and the clear and good-looking eyes like glass are a bit thoughtful. Nanha wants to know that there must be a plot, so she doesn't say it. So think, Mo Shanghua will continue to pretend to be deaf and dumb, as if not smell of bao to eat. A pair of their words completely indifferent appearance. Seeing the flowers on the street, he refused to speak. The bottom of the South Crane's eyes crossed a bit of secluded color. Princess, it's hard to avoid that maidservants and concubines are boring in the mansion all day long. Why don't you go to Wujuan for so long? Why don't you tell them what you've seen and heard in Wujuan? The hand that Mo Shanghua lightly grasped chopsticks this just tiny done come down. The eyes of calm have no wave fall on South Crane body. That really let South Ji disappointed. This imperial concubine has been working hard for a whole day, really tired tight. Now just want to have a good meal well, after going back to have a good rest. Nanha's face was slightly stiff for a moment, and then he was quickly replaced by an eye full of apologies. Why did the princess say this? It's because the maid and concubine didn't think about it carefully. They forgot that the princess just came back. Look, sister, what I said before. Pingji's eyes were a bit ironic, and her tone was rather strange. Although I haven't seen her for more than a month, the little hoof is still the same as before, with sharp teeth and sharp mouth. I'm curious. What's the point? Never thought. South Crane has not answered. Had been to a few people love to answer ignore. Mo Shanghua suddenly put down the bowl chopsticks. Mao Guang curious cast over. Pingji's face suddenly changed and she secretly scolded herself for being so quick. However, Mo Shanghua's eyes were still with her, so she had to explain. But it's just my maid and concubine who discussed with Nanmei before. When we welcome you back, we'll go back earlier, so as not to disturb the princess. It's not a big deal. It seems that there is nothing wrong with this answer, but it is a big pot for Nan He, implying that she is not sensible. Pingji is fawning on Nanha recently. Now she has said such words under her own protection. And her heart is both regret and hate. In this way, how can Nanha take care of her in the future? But did not think, South Crane smell speech then Wu from get up. Toward Mo up flower blessing body plead guilty. Say to say, all is maidservant concubine, don't understand rules, also hope princess don't want to with maidservant concubine care. Nanji's words are very important, but what's the matter of sesame size? Mo Shanghua eyebrow I does not move, still be Enron if the state of plain. Poor is Pingji, this likes to chew the root of the tongue's fault or not to change. Pingji face a green, corners of the mouth are stiff down. Maidservant concubine has always been straightforward. There should be a degree to be frank. If you offend a noble person one day, the Lord will not be able to save you. Mo Shanghua thought that Pingji had been living a peaceful life in the mansion for more than a month, so she took on her face and spoke a few words in a low voice. Yes, I will never do it again. Pingji eyes across a touch of hate color, but also dare not refute, had to bow to admit. After all, the identity of Mo Shanghua's main room is still there, and the Lord is not in the house. If he offends her now, I'm afraid he will disappear in the house without waiting for the Lord to come back. I'll have it. Do as you like. Mo Shanghua picks up the handkerchief and lightly wipes the lip flap. She goes around the desk and gets up to leave. To the princess. Qinya follows Mo Shanghua. Remembering Pingji's appearance, she can't help turning her lips. Pingji had learned so many lessons from the princess before, but now she doesn't have a long memory. The princess should punish her well, and she dare to talk in the future. Mo Shanghua steps down, turns to look at Qinya light mouth. I just returned to the house, there are many things to do, where there is time with her more gas. But as you can see, princess, she is with Mrs. Nan. Nanan's wife is gentle and virtuous, but she always feels that her decision is not so simple, and she certainly has no good intentions. If they are allowed to form a line, it will be impossible in the future. Thinking of the situation just now, Qinya's eyebrows can't help frowning tightly, and the corners of her mouth are bigger. Thinking of Nanha's words and deeds, he could not help but feel a sense of temptation, and his eyes became more and more deep. This person really needs more attention. Her red lips light open, eyes deep color, can't see what to think. With that he walked straight away. Qinya still nodded in the same place. Seeing that the flowers on the street suddenly left, she quickly followed up. In front of the courtyard corridor of the dock, Emo Shanghua suddenly stops and stands behind a pillar. Qinya is confused. Emo Shanghua pulls her over again and makes a hissing gesture to her. Then Qinya notices that in front of the 2 flower beds under the corridor, the voices of the 2 maidservants talking are clearly coming into her ears. The 2 maidservants took care of the flowers and plants in the corridor. They were still restless and could not help complaining to each other. As soon as the princess came back, she ordered so much work. Today she has been working all day. I'm really tired. Yes, why did she have to come back to us to find fault? When she's away, Mrs. Nan turns a blind eye to us all. There are many rewards on weekdays, but she's gone as soon as she comes back. It's really annoying. Mrs. Nan has always been kind to people. She's fierce and jealous, but she won't have a good life in the future. 2 people are you a word IA language of say, speak words also completely don't care about, like the slightest fear of being heard by others in general. Emo Shanghua hears others talking about herself behind her back like this. She doesn't see any anger on her face, but her eyes are slightly coagulated. She seems to be thinking about something. Qinya's ears were deaf, so she couldn't hear anyone else's words. She couldn't help asking in a low voice, "Princess, what are they talking about? Is it something ugly?" The color of thinking in the flower eyes on the street is not reduced. I lightly click my lower jaw and walk away. The 2 maidservants saw the flowers on the street quietly passing by, and they were so scared that they turned pale. They bent down and knelt down to say hello. Emo Shanghua didn't even look at them. She just passed them and went back to her bedroom. They were just waiting for a breath of relief when Qinya stopped for a moment and said mercilessly, "You 2 are doing twice as much work today, but you can be careful. You will never be so simple when you are chewing your tongue." 2 people just relaxed a breath. At this time the body is to shake again, but have to bend over to answer next. Qinya has no good spirit of glancing at 2 people a record. This just hurriedly follow Emo Shanghua and go. Until the bedroom, Emo Shanghua stopped and sat down in front of the table. His right hand habitually tapped on the table, as if thinking, "You don't have to worry about these maidservants, princess." Qinya didn't know what they had said. She was afraid that it was too much. After thinking about it, she was relieved. The flowers on the street did not open their mouth, and the faint light floating in their eyes was like a dark star. The bright stars in the sky were very beautiful, but they seemed to hide something, which made people not really see. After thinking about this for a moment, I saw her gently raise her chin, and the ink in her eyes suddenly closed. "Qinya, go to find out the trend of the city managers in recent days, especially the contact with whom. Why is the princess so nervous all of a sudden? In principle, you have calmed down the chaos in Wujuan. They should have nothing to say at this time and bow their heads." Qinya tilts her head slightly, and her eyes are a little puzzled. Emo Shanghua took the simple hand that tapped on the table, and a cool color passed between her eyebrows. "I've been gone for more than a month. I'm afraid that instead of convincing them, I'm going to make their hearts even wilder." After a pause, she added, "By the way, I'll find out what the people in the courtyard say and ask Nanhe more." "Yes, I will go now." Qinya listened to Emo Shanghua so say, "In the heart also understand a few minutes, Shida will immediately do." Wait a minute. Qinya hasn't come to the door yet. The flower on the street suddenly raises a voice and stops her. Seeing that Qinya was full of doubts, Emo Shanghua got up and walked slowly in front of her. Her eyes were bright. "I didn't think about it just now. Now I think it's not feasible. Go back and have a rest. Don't worry about it anymore." Qinya wanted to say something, but she didn't want to rest when she thought about herself. But Emo Shanghua always wanted to rest, and she always had her own reason in doing things, so she swallowed the words again, accepted them and went on. In the next few days, in the name of having a good rest, Emo Shanghua neither summoned the city managers nor asked the concubines to come and say hello. Even Nanhe was blocked by her several times, as if she really needed a good rest. Pingji and others are also idle. At the moment can't see flowers on the street. Then a swarm of bees all drill to the south crane here. "Sister, what's the matter with the princess these days?" As soon as she got back to the palace, she locked herself up like this. No one saw her. Pingji slightly frowned and asked questions casually. Before Nanha spoke, a concubine room could not help but snort, with a sarcastic tone. Our concubines are from the imperial city, and they are very proud. They don't take us concubines seriously. Since we entered the palace, we have always been like this. Has Sister Pingji not adapted? Or did you remember yesterday's reprimand of Sister Pingji? Pingji's face flashed a little annoyed. I don't have a lesson. What's the matter with you? And I'm asking Sister Nan, what do you mean? I don't want to think about my own identity, but I dare to do so. I can see that this is a confusion of dignity and inferiority. The woman suddenly choked and her face was blue and white. She was not angry, but she couldn't refute. She is just an ordinary concubine, but Nanha is not only favored by the king, but also a higher concubine than her. And before he left, he personally ordered him to give Nanha the right to be the steward of the house. That is to say, he had the right to share equally with the stranger. South Crane has just been cheating to watch. Now see this scene. This is not salty gentle mouth. We are all sisters, but also serve the Lord together, where there is no respect or inferiority. Seeing that the two men's faces had softened a little, she then said, the princess has been in a lot of trouble. She has been in the riot place of Wujuan for so long, and she is tired. When the princess has recovered, she will surely summon us. Don't worry, sister. Pingji's eyes crossed the color of calculation, pondered for a while and said, if you really want to say it, it's not this that matters. However, as you know, when the princess was in charge of the house, the maids and concubines didn't dare to breathe. But these days we are very happy. Now she's back. If the power of the housekeeper falls back to her, then aren't we? As soon as the voice fell, the remaining two concubines frowned and agreed with each other. Nanha's pretty willow eyebrows frowned slightly, and he was a bit embarrassed. My sisters also know that I'm just a temporary housekeeper. Since the princess is back, I shouldn't be greedy. Seeing that she refused to play, Pingji couldn't help saying, Sister, the Lord hasn't come back yet. Why are you so anxious for a while? The South Crane's eyebrow is frowning more tightly. The Mao color inging is light to flash, erratic, seemed to be in a dilemma to the extreme. When Pingji saw this, she was very happy. She grabbed Nanha's hand and struck while the iron was hot. Sister, you were for your sister and for the girls and boys in the house. We had a bad life. But if the whole family had a bad life, how could you bear it? With that, she turned her head and winked at the other two concubines. The other two people see this. Busy also followed to persuade. Nanha stirred the brocade handkerchief lightly, and his eyes were full of struggling color. After pondering for a long time, he just sighed. Elder sisters, I entered the mansion the latest, and I have the least qualifications. It's reasonable that I shouldn't be in charge of the housekeeper for a long time. But when all the elder sisters ask for such a surrender, she can only put it off for a while. When the Lord comes back, she will return the power of the housekeeper. Pingji eyebrows immediately deep wrinkle, eyes across a bit unhappy. Just for a moment, how can she do it? What she wants is to let that bitch never meet this right. But, elder sister need not say, this power originally shouldn't be my younger sister to control. I really dare not too much greedy. The South Crane flicks Pingji's hand away, full of firm color. Pingji thought that Nanha was soft-tempered and would agree, but she never thought that she was so stubborn. Thinking that she couldn't be too quick, she had to stop for a while and said yes. It was not until she got out of Nanha's yard that her face sank down. She said in a hateful voice, I thought this little hoof was soft and shallow, so it would be easier to handle. But now it is more promising, just like that slut. Seeing this, Green Sun quickly comforted her. Madam, why do you want to be angry with this little hoof? When you find a chance in the future, you just want to catch her with that bitch. At that time, they will never dare to be so arrogant. Luer's words went straight to Pingji's heart. Her face softened a little, and she snorted. What I'm saying is that at that time, I'll make sure these two bitches can't survive or die. The Nanha in the house, seeing that all the people in the house had gone away, wiped Ying's hands carefully with a brocade handkerchief until every finger had wiped it. Then he threw the handkerchief at Yuaner, and his eyes were a little disgusted. Throw this handkerchief away. Yuan'er and Nan he have been together for a long time. He knows that Nan he is proud of himself. He busily puts away his handkerchief and goes down to work. The South Crane micro raised the jaw. In the eye once delimited a few points of the color of ridicule. A gang of idiots. I thought how powerful the women in the back house could be. They were all big-chested and brainless. Thinking about it, she suddenly did it, went around to the inner room, closed the door, then went to the window, folded her hands, put them on her lips and whistled. As soon as he took back his hand, a man dressed in a dark guard in black rushed in from the window. When he saw Nanha, his expressionless face showed his affection. Sister Nanha, what's the matter with me? How are things going with the Lord? South Crane also different her nonsense. Complexion coldly spit out a word. Darkway shook his head. I don't know the details, but I heard that the things over there are a little tricky, and I can't deal with them in a short time. And there's no other news? The South Crane mouth bottom passes a color of worry. Palm slightly some subconscious tighten a few minutes. The dark guard lowered his voice and comforted. The Lord has always been good for people and nature, and will surely return as soon as possible. Sister Nanha, don't care more about it. Your task now is to guard the palace and pay attention to the things in Yuzhou City. I know. You go. The South Crane's face was cold for a few minutes, and he gave the order directly. When the man saw this, he didn't ask for nothing. His figure disappeared in a flash. The South Crane's eyes were even colder, and it was a bit gloomy. On the surface, these people are all loyal to the Lord just like her, but it's really hateful for her to be so careless when she mentions problems related to the Lord. Well, with the strength of the Lord, it's really impossible for anything to happen. When she thought about this, she might as well think about how to bring down the so-called princess before the Lord came back. Since the day that the woman came back, although she didn't ask anything, her intuition had clearly told her that the Lord decided to treat the woman differently. She won't keep any woman who can win the Lord's eye. Princess, here comes the city management. Qinya enters the hall and whispers in the ear of Mo Shanghua. Thankfully, after several days of silence, the princess of her family finally thought of these people and sent her to invite them this morning. Have tea served and invite them in. The flower on the road just slightly raises eyes, light mouth. Yes. Before long, several stewards came in one after another, and Qinya ordered people to serve tea one by one. The flower in the street saw that several people were sitting down, so she put the account book collected in Wujuan on the table and said, "Thanks to you, my trip to Wujuan not only took back all the accounts, but also found out a lot of things that Wujuan had committed, which removed a big disaster for the people. It can be said that I have gained a lot." Once this is said, the room is quiet. Seeing that no one dares to answer, the flowers on the street don't feel embarrassed. As if nothing happened, they continue to say, "Do you want to see for yourself? Is there any mistake in this account book? Jiang is in charge. Would you like to come first?" Jiang Shi was suddenly named. He was confused for a moment. Then he stood up and said with a smile, "This account was collected by the princess herself. How can it be false? I dare not doubt it. If only you knew." Qinya did not have the good spirit to hum lightly. However, her voice was falling, and Jiang Shi suddenly changed his tone, and his face was full of doubts. I'm stupid. I don't know what happened when the princess called me here today." The flower on the street was holding a celadone tea cup, and her eyes were drooping gently, brushing the tobacco foam in the cup. "Since I continued to discuss the matter before I went to Wujuan, I have been discussing it all the time." Is the princess joking? Jiang Shi's eyes were a bit ironic, and his tone was a bit disrespectful. Before the princess went to Wujuan, the prince really gave you the power to take charge of the mansion. However, since you left with the Lord gave the right to Mrs. Nan. The slaves did not dare to go against the meaning of the Lord. That is to discuss, and it is Mrs. Nan who asked us to go. The others all looked like this. Only Zhang He sat at the bottom of the table silent. Mo Shanghua's hands moved quickly. There was a chill in his eyes. "How do you misinterpret the meaning of the Lord like this? Don't you all forget that the king's edict before leaving is something in Tonanji's temporary residence? Now that I'm back from the main room, it's time for me to return it. Jiangshi looked at his nose and his heart with his eyes, but he could not understand. I'm a stupid slave. I can't understand these crooked slaves. But if the princess really wants to take back her rights, she should take the princess's gold seal to find Nanfu. Seeing this, another steward echoed. All in all, these are matters in the inner courtyard of the deep house, but the slaves can't interfere. We'd better wait for the princess to negotiate with Mrs. Nan, and come to negotiate with us. What you mean is that you only know Mrs. Nan and I don't know my princess. When the flower eyes on the street are neutral, they die a touch of anger. It seems that they are already in a hurry. However, at the bottom of the dark eyes, they are still dead and silent for thousands of years. Qinya's face flushed with anger. She was already very angry. Do you know it's a crime of disrespect? The servants are just acting according to the instructions of the Lord. How can they be guilty of disrespect? Jiang Shi's retort, which was not smiling, flashed some satisfaction at the bottom of his eyes. There are still many chores in the slave shop. I'll leave first. Say, also don't wait for Mo Shanghua to respond. Several people then leave one after another. Zhang He hesitated for a moment, followed the three people behind him, saluted the flowers respectfully, and then left. Mo Shanghua Maoguang swept quietly on Zhang He's body. When everyone was gone, he narrowed his eyes dangerously. Sure. Qinya at this time also received angry face, sad looking at the flowers. Princess, what can I do? What to do? The flower on the street asked in a soft voice. The dark light was shining in the dark pupil, and the beautiful cheek was cold. Naturally, I'm going to ask for a crime. Why did the princess come suddenly? I hope the princess will forgive me if I miss you. South Crane steps to the front of Mo Shanghua and bows to her Ying. Pardon? How dare I? Unexpectedly, the flower's face is suddenly cold, and the voice also contains some frost. South Crane Zhang seemed to have no reaction to come over, for a long time, just full face don't understand of lift Mao. Princess, how to say this? Even so, Mo Shanghua didn't call her up, she didn't move, still maintained the posture of kneeling just now. Mo Shanghua glanced at Qinya beside him. Qinya knew what was going on, so she stepped forward and said, Lady Nan is the only one in the palace who is willing to tell you something. But it's not moving. Lady Nan thinks that how can the princess not be angry? This. South Crane Willow eyebrows shallow frown up. Voice is still gentle and soft. Girl, this words is to break evil me. Maidservant concubine is just temporarily in charge of the affairs of the house. How dare to instigate the people in the house to treat the princess disrespectful. This must be some misunderstanding in them. Also hope the princess to check. The more she said that, the colder the flowers on the street looked. When she finished speaking, it had dropped to the freezing point. You dare not. It doesn't mean that the people in the house dare not. The princess is not here for more than a month. You are in charge of the whole palace. Before I left, the servants in this house were respectful and polite to the master. But now I just came back, they all learned to talk about the princess behind my back. It can be seen that Nanji, you have indeed disciplined the 5 sides in these days, and connived at all the servants. Nanha just found out that Mo Shanghua had been shut down by several stewards. She thought that she had to make a big deal out of those stewards when she came to trouble her. She even thought about the wording, but did not think Mo Shanghua actually is from this aspect to start directly down. It seems that this woman really has some skills, otherwise the Lord will not pay more attention to her. Thinking about it quickly in his mind, He narrowed his eyes slightly and looked aggrieved. Girls and boys love to chew their tongue. They have been there since ancient times. Even in the imperial palace, there are many people with such broken mouths. How can they completely eliminate it? The princess didn't see it before, but now she can see it. It's just a matter of chance. After a pause, she said, although the maidservant concubines have treated them mildly these days, it's only a month, and they definitely won't be presumptuous. That's it. Mo Shanghua was silent for a moment. She stared at the crane kneeling for a while and said, even so, do you know what those girls are talking about? The South Crane eyebrow heartbeat to jump, immediately way. No matter what, also all but pass on the wrong some mixed words just don't be true. A good one is not true. In the flower eyes of the street, there was a slight sneer, but I'm a careful person. I always prefer to believe this kind of words, but I don't believe it. After listening to it, I will hover in my heart all the time. If I don't spit it out, I can't eat and sleep at night. I hope the princess makes it clear. So far, South Crane on the contrary some can't see through the real purpose of Mo Shanghua, but the eye is still half a cent panic also have no simply ask out. The South Crane's drooping eyebrows and eyes were a little dark. It seemed that he thought of something. He quietly glanced at Yuaner kneeling behind him. The round son immediately nodded, quietly toward the door of the maid with mouth command down. The maid busy quietly backed down. Mo Shanghua doesn't seem to see her action. She picks her eyebrows slightly. Qinyo on one side immediately understands her and says, "Don't you know Mrs. Nan? Now all the people in the palace respect their wives. Even the real hostess of the palace is about to forget who she is, and you can almost hear such words everywhere. If it's because of chance, then we princess are really lucky." Chance is a word that she deliberately accentuates, with obvious meaning. Nanha looked up at the flowers on the street, with a look of fear on his face. "I've been keeping my books for a month, and I've been taking care of things in the house. I really don't know where these rumors come from." Mo Shanghua taps on the table with a slight rhythm, with a light look. "Naturally, you start to be in power. If you are really scared, you should know how to do it. Sure enough, this is the ultimate goal." Nanha sneered in his heart, but he pretended to be puzzled. He hung his head and thought for a while. He said, "I'll order people to clean up the whole house and severely punish those who chew their tongue and break the rules of the palace." It seems that Mrs. Nan still doesn't understand. In this way, the princess will make things clear. The cold light in the flower eyes on the street suddenly flashed, and his voice was clear and cold, as if, "The things that the Lord told you before he left, now it's time to return them." "Yo, what's the matter with Nanmei? She's so pathetic in kneeling on the ground." Before Nanha spoke, Pingji came in with a surprised face, and then gave a gift to Huafu. In his eyes he didn't seem to see Pingji. He still said, "First of all, I have a lot of things to deal with before I leave. I need to continue to deal with them, but now they are like servants in the same house. They only know you, Mrs. Nan, but they don't know the princess. Second, since you indulge your servants here, it's time for the princess to rectify the atmosphere in the mansion. It's easy to win people's hearts, but it's more difficult to buy the city management than the servants. Previously, she even didn't buy her account. If Nanhe didn't really work hard, he would never let them turn around one after another, which shows his ambition. Since Nanha dares to cut off her hu, it's natural for her to take it back." Nanha's feather fan-like long eyelashes flashed slightly, but her face was not arrogant. "I understand the princess's predicament now, but I'm afraid that I'll take charge of the affairs in the palace at the command of the Lord. Now the Lord has not returned, so I dare not suddenly drop my duty." "Yes, princess, you don't know the temperament of the prince. If he comes back to know that Nanmei is slack off her job, I'm afraid he will directly blame him." Pingji pressure in the heart by the stranger flower ignored anger. Pull the corner of the mouth, full face of virtuous and virtuous state. Mo Shanghua raised her eyes and glared at Pingji. It was clear that Pingji was standing, while she was sitting upright. However, she had a kind of calm quality and never lost in momentum. There are many good sisters around Pingji. She used to be Yunji, but now she is so close to Nanji, who has just entered the government. She is really a smart person. I just don't know. Has Pingji ever seen Yunji during this time? I heard that she seems to have gone crazy. If you go to see more, maybe you can cure her." Pingji's face was slightly green, and some strange color flashed in her eyes. For a moment, she didn't know how to deal with it, so she could only shut up temporarily, because she knew that it was not only ironic, but also a kind of warning. Yunji's fate, she had seen with her own eyes. "I've heard something about Sister Yin, but I'm just taking the blame. Sister Ping doesn't have to be too sad." Nanha was very considerate. In the middle of his words, he turned the topic back. In other words, Sister Ping's words are not unreasonable. I also asked the princess to understand the difficulties of my maid and concubine. Pingji at this time also eased over, a hand tightly clenched into a fist. Tone also can't help but with a bit of gunpowder. Yes, princess, why do you want to force others to do so? Emo Shanghua stares at the two people who cooperate with each other. For a long time, she doesn't speak. Just when they think Emo Shanghua really has nothing to say, she takes out an envelope, takes out the letter paper, and gives it to Qinya. Since you two must say that the princess is hard for her, then I have to really hard for her. Pingji's face is puzzled. Nanha stares at the letter sent to him by Qinya. His heart jumps fiercely. There is an ominous premonition rising slowly along the soles of his feet. Sure enough, after she read the contents of the letter, her eyes suddenly flashed and her face was surprised. Pingji looked curious, but also rushed to have a look. This look, her face is also extremely shocked, and then continued to become green and white up. The letter was not written by others, but by Yan Beiqing himself. It pointed out that after Emo Shanghua returned to his house, he would let Nanhe return the power to Emo Shanghua. But Emo Shanghua looked at the two people's facial expression change. The light in the eye once crossed a few sarcastic color. How this is also the king's order, you can also disobey? It turns out that although Emo Shanghua has been staying at home these days, she has been quietly exploring the situation in the house herself, and no one has ever found out. Moreover, she is just giving those managers the chance. But obviously, they don't cherish it. And she came to find Nanha, including with her for so long, but also just to test. Now the goal is achieved, naturally there is no need to continue to consume. That's right. They didn't open their mouth, but they didn't affect the mood of Emo Shanghua at all. They were still in an easy state. Is this Palm Mansion gold seal presented by yourself, or do I send someone to take it myself? After a while, Nanhe regained his mind and quickly accepted the matter. Just as he wanted to speak, Pingji could not help but whispered. How can this thing suddenly appear? Who knows if it is true or false? Fool. It will only drag her down in the end. Nanha scolds in his heart, but he pulls Le Pingji's robe quietly, and then bows his head respectfully. Since there is a letter from the Lord, I should follow what the Lord says. You honor, go and get the gold seal and literature. Yes. Round Sun should be next. Not long then carried a tray to come up, respectfully presented to the front of the flower. The flower on the street was taken over by Qinya, and then she didn't want to stay for a long time. She stood up and walked to Nanji. When she came to Nanji, she said in a soft voice, You are most favored in ordinary times, and you are trusted by the Lord. If there is anything you don't want to tell you in the future, don't be arrogant because you spoil the etiquette and make others unhappy, and you are also unhappy. Speaking, she looked at the South Crane quietly, clearly saw a very thin anger in her eyes, and immediately closed her eyes, smiling. I am taught. The color of flower eyes on the street is deep for a few times, and then I don't look at her anymore, so I turn around and leave. The Imperial City, the Emperor, the secret newspaper of Yuzhou. The man in the palace knelt down respectfully in front of the middle-aged man in the Ming Emperor's dragon robe, and raised an envelope in his hands. The man who was called the Emperor turned around, took the secret newspaper, opened it and looked at it carefully. His eyes were more and more dignified. The letter said, King Yu dotes on his concubine as usual. When Princess Yu went to January, King Yu abolished a concubine and Zhongwan for her. In February, he went to Wujuan with King Yu to calm down the merchants who did not sell grain, and the people were rioting. After Zhongwan's defeat, he fought against him and ran away without a trace. 5 days before he left, the Wujuan were blocked. I don't know what happened. When the city gate opened, the Wujuan sheriff Jiang Wu was cut down for committing several crimes, and all the officials of Wujuan were changed. In addition, Qian Lin, a wealthy businessman in Wujuan, was also accepted by him. Go and send someone to find out what happened in those days when Wujuan blockaded, as well as the details of those who trusted the officials. I'll find out all about them. The emperor didn't make any waves on his face. He just scratched a little deep in his eyes, and threw the secret newspaper on the table. Yes, I'll send someone to do it. Palace people should be under, keep etiquette, respectfully backed down. The emperor turned and looked at the many memorials that had not been dealt with on the table behind him. His mind moved and his eyes turned to the eunuch standing next to the case. Look for the fold that Yuzhou sent recently. Yes. Eunuch should be down, busy to the case, carefully looking up. After a while, the eunuch went to the emperor and said, "Back to the emperor, Yuzhou has not played a memorial recently. Hi, His Royal Highness King Yu has always been used to playing around. This memorial is always available today. It would be strange if he sent it on time every day." The emperor didn't answer, and his eyes crossed some dark colors that others couldn't understand, as if he trusted the eunuch's statement. Only he knew that it was not easy. It is not impossible for that woman to get out of the trap of the imperial city and grow up. Qingye poured a cup of tea for Emo Shanghua, pushed her in front of Emo Shanghua, and said with a smile, "I knew that the princess would not easily suffer losses. Now she has the power to control the house. Tomorrow, she must clean up Jiangxin as well." Jiangshi was insidious and cunning, and he was such a wall grass that he could not easily get around. Although the flowers on the street follow such words, they look light and don't see any emotional fluctuations. The voice falls, she is about to carry Qingye just to brew good tea, Mao Guangshu of Aji. The action in the hand also stopped down. There was a folded paper under the teacup. Because Qingye had just pushed it, it showed a corner. What is this? Qingye obviously didn't expect that. She took the teacup and took out the paper. In the past, except for Qingye, the maids beside her were not allowed to come in. Even Qingye didn't know who mixed in and put this piece of paper. Emo Shanghua, thinking in her mind, took the paper from Qingye and opened it. All the paper is just about the size of a palm. There is only a short line on it, which says, "I will be in Qinghuan Pavilion for a while." The handwriting seems to have seen it somewhere. Emo Shanghua plans to pass a few minutes to think. She Wu from Hangmao to think, a long time just suddenly think of. When she was in Wujuan County, she and Hua Qianlu lived together in the grain shop for some time. She also saw Hua Qianliu's handwriting. The handwriting on the note in front of her was exactly the same as Hua Qianliu's. If the note is put quietly by Hua Qianlu, it makes sense. Thinking about this, the eyebrows of the flowers on the street are also stretched out. They burn the note and turn their eyes to look at Qingye. "Qingye, go get a suit of men's clothes." "Princess, are you going to the appointment? Can you bring Qingye with you?" Seeing this, Qingye grabs the sleeves of flowers on the street, blinks her eyes and looks worried. "I'm just going to see my old friend. Nothing serious will happen. You can stay in the mansion for a rainy day." Emo Shangflower lightly swept Qingye one eye, thought, still patiently explained. Qingye saw that there was a certain firmness in her eyes, and listened to what she said. Her mind stopped a little. Nua Nua answered and went down. Waiting for Qingye to prepare the men's clothes, Emo Shanghua tried it in person, and then saw that the time was almost up, and quietly climbed out of the wall. As everyone knows, she came out of the scene over the wall, and bumped into the eyes of Nanhe. Nanha is a little surprised and suspicious about the event of Mozhang Huahui's martial arts. After thinking about it, he simply takes Yuaner and others away. He also shows his body method and follows them out. Nanha had been under Yan Beiqing for many years, and he was already independent enough, not to mention his lightness skill. Now tracking in the street behind the flowers, but also by the people on the street cover, flowers on the street for a while also did not find. Emo Shanghua walked all the way through the street. When she was about to travel half the distance, she suddenly realized that there was a line of sight behind her, which crossed the crowd and locked on her. Although he found that it was not right, Emo Shanghua did not stop at his feet. He just quickened his body method and turned left and right, but Nanhe didn't catch up. He was really thrown away. She didn't dare to think that now that she had come out and lost the flowers, she might as well go to Qinghuan Pavilion to see if she could get some useful information from Huiqianliu. Who knows, not to Qinghuan Pavilion door. Far away will see a man dressed on the street into the Qinghuan Pavilion. It's true that no book can be made without coincidence. The South Crane lips cape tiny hook, in the mouth light vomit a word, then also busy followed to go in. Emo Shanghua just entered Qinghuan Pavilion. A maid dressed up came up to her and said, "It's Mo girl." The flower on the street sweeps the maid's eyes. Seeing that the maid's eyebrows are low and her manners are complete, she is totally different from the bustard she met when she first came here. She knows in her heart that this person is probably the one who is spending more money to serve. Think of this. Mo Shanghua heart silently to the taste of flower willow hit a high score, delicate jaw light point. Girl, please follow me. Maidservant see Mo Shanghua point head, then toward the side let Mo Shanghua walk in front. The flower on the street is not coy, even when she walks forward with her maidservants way out of the way. Under the guide of the maid, she went directly to a VIP room on the 3rd floor. When she arrived, the maid withdrew. The flower on the street pushed open the door, and saw the flower willow sitting at the table, with a few dishes and 2 pots of wine on the table. And he himself was drinking with great pleasure. His blue robe was loose on his body, and he looked like a dandy. The lord of the pavilion called me to have a drink. The flower path on the street is opposite to the flower willow. Mo Shanghua raised his eyes and looked at Mo Shanghua. At this, the fox's eyes suddenly couldn't help crossing a few different colors. Today she wore a white robe. Because of her delicate figure, the robe looked very loose, but because of her meticulous hair crown, she didn't show half romantic. She only took advantage of her small and delicate face. She looked like a white-faced scholar, especially handsome and elegant. I haven't seen it in the past. Now I see that Xiaoma is so handsome with this man's dress. Flower thousand willow eyes in a different color but flash away, in a flash and then hang up the usual ridicule smile. Tut-tut, fortunately you came to be let up. If let you stay below for a while, I'm afraid the girls of Chenghuan Pavilion will bow down under your robe. Bow down? The flowers in the street also relaxed a little, and the ruddy lips picked a little. All the girls in Chenghuan Pavilion have unique skills. If that's the case, I've got a big help. Isn't it beautiful? Flower thousand willow lips angle smile expanded a few minutes. Mao Guangyu you of looking at her. Small Mo flower is always shrewd, such business, this child can't do with you. The petals of the flowers on the street were lifted lightly, and the flowers and willows were smiling. The pavilion leader is a businessman, so he should be much more shrewd than me. Let's get down to business. The pavilion leader asked me to come here quietly. What's the matter? Nature is a priority. Hua Qianlu put down the wine cup in his hand, turned to pick up the folding fan, and then knocked in his palm. What you and Brother Beiqing did in Wujuan is too noisy. I have received the information, and someone has already sent it to the imperial city. It is estimated that the secret letter has been sent to the emperor. So fast. The radiance of the lips of the flowers on the road is immediately smoothed, and the water eyes are stained with a dark color. How can people in the imperial city be vegetarian? Hua Qianlu shook his head in a funny way and said, I'm afraid you can't give a reasonable explanation for the way that Brother Beiqing eats, drinks and plays all day long. As he gets the princess, I'm afraid you can't give an explanation. The flower in the street gazed and thought about it. On her delicate cheek she said, Let me think about it. Yan Beiqing nodded, temporarily closed the folding fan, picked up an empty cup, poured a glass of wine for Mo Shanghua, and said with a smile, Don't worry, first warm up. This body is comfortable, just want to deal with it. Mo Shanghua nodded, holding the cup in one hand, but he didn't drink it. The look in his eyes was clear and changing. After a long time, she suddenly raised her eyes, and her voice was a little deep. Why don't you let the Lord write a memorial, and start with the matter of the grain merchant mob in Wujuan? Jiang Wu's dereliction of duty and several conflicts with me made me and the Lord unhappy. After a thorough investigation, we found that this man had many crimes, and other officials in Wujuan were involved with him, so we had to get rid of them. After a pause she said, I have made the prince unhappy by mentioning Jiang Wu's collision in my words. It's better to write in detail without missing a word. I'll reply to the letter in the memorial, and ask the emperor to forgive me. At this point, she couldn't think of any other way. If she couldn't, she could only do so. If it's right, the emperor will not punish them, but should reward them. If it's wrong at most, she will be retired and become an ordinary person. That may not be the worst. Now that she has the wealth of Wujuan, she will become an ordinary person, and will not lose much. Flower Thousand Willow eyebrow tip tiny pick. The smile in the eye faded a few minutes. Do you really decide to do this disaster water? Do you know what the consequences will be? I know, but if the emperor finds out that Yan Beiqing is not a real dandy, I'm afraid the consequences will be more serious. Mo Shang Flower coagulated a face to nod, Mao bottom a pure and clear. Besides, I help him so from half condition. You know that. At the moment, the smile in the eyes of Flower Thousand Willows completely subsided, and looked at the flowers on the street. Yes. Mo Shanghua doesn't want to be a fool. She simply admits that after a pause she says, I've been with him for more than 2 months. Besides, he doesn't have no loopholes. I'll know sooner or later, but it's a matter of time. Flower Thousand Willow eyes full of surprise, and then seems to want to open, can't help but laugh. Brother Beiqing, you really met the killer. The flowers on the street pursed their lips without words. But she thought that if Hua Qianlu knew, she would be even more surprised if she knew that the cloak man and Yan Beiqing were the same person. Hua Qianlu didn't know what she was thinking. She drank another cup of wine, and then she took out a bright yellow memorial from her sleeve, and pushed it to Mo Shanghua. You might as well have a look at this first. Is Yanbei City ready? Mo Shanghua's heart fretted, picked up the memorial and looked at it carefully. This memorial was written by Yan Beiqing himself. The content and the tone of his speech are exactly the same as what he usually shows outside. All the words are accusing Jiang Wu of his guilt, but they all start from small things. For example, when they arrived in Wujuan, Jiang Wu did not come out to meet them. When they lived in Jiang Wu's house, they were often slighted and disrespectful to the princess. Then I went to the main topic, but it was just a brush stroke. Between the lines, I could feel how willful and reckless the person who wrote this memorial was. He didn't blacken the flowers on the street, and couldn't see the evil gesture of the flowers on the street. The flowers on the road will play the chapter together, and the eyebrows suddenly frown. Without waiting for her to ask, Hua Qianlu opened the folding fan in her hand, and her tone was relaxed. This is the style of King Yu. With his understatement, the frowning brows of flowers on the street slowly spread out, and the beautiful eyes turned a little different. Yes, Hua Qianlu is right. Yan Beiqing is Yan Beiqing. He is not only an idle prince, but also a romantic and willful dandy. The emperor must know about it. If he really hated these things, it would be possible for him to get rid of Jiang Wu and decapitate him in the end. In this way, at the same time, it is more reliable to spread some news outside Wujuan. The confused color between the eyebrows and eyes on the street just dispersed. However, when she thought that she was smart today, she frowned again. Beauty frowns, but it doesn't look good. Yan Beiqing shakes a folding fan, and his face is full of sighs. Mo Shanghua raised her eyes and looked at him. Her beautiful eyes flashed slightly, and then she was as calm as water. That's right. Hua Qianlu seemed to think of something, and her smile faded a lot. I heard that you have encountered some trouble in the government these 2 days, and those managers are not very obedient. And Nanha, she seems to have some conflicts with you. The information of the cabinet leader is really quick. Nothing can escape your eyes. The flower eye color on the street is so familiar that the meaning is unknown. Hua Qianlu touched his nose and looked innocent. I don't want to take care of your inner house, but Brother Beiqing is not here. I have been with him for many years, so I have to take good care of him. Mo Shanghua turned her head and said, Don't worry, my lord. No one can hurt me in my position. She never likes to be watched, but now Hua Qianlu quietly sends people to pay attention to her. How can she be happy? After saying this, she stood up and said, I can't go out for long. If the Lord doesn't have anything else to do, I'll go back first and say goodbye. Flower Willow looked at the empty face, in the hands of the folding fan this slowly away, toward the empty room, slightly young voice. Come in. After a long time, the black silhouette outside the window suddenly flashed. Then, the carved wooden door in front of us was opened from the outside, and the woman in a water lotus-colored dress came in with her hands folded in front of her chest. The beauty of the woman's eyes, like cherry red lips tightly pursed. Usually gentle and dignified at this time reduced by most, only a few points from the bones of the proud. It's you. Hua Qianlu picked her eyebrows, but there was no surprise in her eyes. It seemed that she was not surprised. It's a coincidence that Xiao Ma Hua just left and you came. Nanha, what are you doing here today? But I miss you so much? I'm really joking. The gloom at the bottom of the South Crane's eyes was covered in an instant, and he sat down in front of him, not mentioning the flowers in the street. The young master is a very clever man. I think he knows very well why I'm here today. Easy to say, easy to say. Hua Qianlu did not modestly answer, but then the front of the conversation turned slightly. However, although I'm extremely clever, I won't reveal when you come here. I'm afraid I can't guess how smart I am. Nanhee's white hands can't help pinching his sleeve, and his chest overflows with anger. Nanhee has been here for several times, and the reason for each time is not the same. If he can't remember, Nanhee will explain it directly. After a pause, she said, I heard that the Lord had to deal with something at the border. The border has always been chaotic and the sword is shining. Young master, you are always in close contact with the Lord. I don't know how the Lord is doing. Are you hurt? Hua Qianlu opened the folding fan again and shook it in his hand. He said carelessly, Don't you know your master's skill? The beginning of the story was thrown back again, but Nanha kept on saying, Did the Lord mention the date of return? She remembers that when she came to inquire earlier, she was worried about the Lord's feelings with that woman, but she did not expect that this time it was also because of that woman. The difference is that this time she wanted to know the exact time and make good preparations, so that she would never see the Lord before the Lord came back. How can I know? Don't forget that Brother Beiqing is always cold and stuffy. It's time to burn incense and worship Buddha if you can talk to him a little more, let alone so. Hua Qianliu's eyes quickly flashed something, and then he simply cut off the topic and joked. I said Nanhee, but I heard that you seem to have a problem with Xiao Mo Hua recently. It's just a small matter. It's hard to say. The South Crane slightly smile, on the face have no fluster. Child should know, the Lord's order, I always strictly abide by, never want to because of others and disobey others' order. The implication is that Mo Shanghua blocked her from completing the task assigned by Yan Beicheng. Flower willow eyes color from light to thick, the face used to smile but did not reduce. In this case, I think the North Brother will not blame. With that he raised his hands and stretched his waist indecently. His face was a bit sleepy. It's getting late. I'm tired. I want to go back to bed. You should go back and have a good rest. If a woman doesn't have a good rest, she will be ugly. Seeing this, it was not good for Nanhee to say more, so he stood up and said, In this way, I will go back to the palace first. When she came out of Chenghuan Pavilion, the flower street outside was still prosperous, and she did not lose half a cent because of the fall of night. Today, although Hua Qianlu and Mo Shanghua didn't hear all of what Hua Qianlu and Mo Shanghua talked about, Nanhee also heard most of it. Thinking of Yan Beiqing's maintenance of Mo's harm, her folded hands could not be controlled tightly, and the green tendons on the back of her tender hands burst, and her eyes were filled with hatred. She is not a stupid person, think about it, also understand that although the memorial will shirk the responsibility, but also failed to reveal anything, is to protect the flowers firmly. But the price of doing so is that the Lord will have to be criticized for his irresponsible acts, and that he will be punished for cutting first and then playing. I'm afraid he will be punished anyway. The Lord has nothing since he urinated. It's not worth the punishment if he wants to protect the flowers. What is hateful is that the Lord is willing to do so for that woman. The more he thought about it, the more he hated it. His eyes turned red. He wanted to rush into the dockyard at this moment, so that he could chop the flower and die. Bitch, I will never let you continue to live, become a stumbling block on the Lord, become her stumbling block. The next day, the border was desolate. When I looked up, I could not see half of the green trees, but only the less. Yan Beiqing stood on a barren cliff, and looked down at the secret letter in his hand. After seeing it, I will shatter the internal power of the secret letter, which will be blown with the wind, and the remaining incomplete embers will disappear in time. Thinking of the contents of the secret letter, Yan Beiqing's soared eyebrows at the temples were slightly wrinkled, and the deep and serene pupil was a bit metaphorical. Although Mo Shanghua knew his real strength, he already knew it in his heart, but when he thought of it, Hua Qianlu also sent a message to remind him, which made him feel confused. It seems that sour and astringent also seems not very happy. Is this what ordinary people call jealousy? Moling, do you know what it's like to be jealous? Thinking of this, he can't help turning around and asking seriously. Mo Ling immediately, as if by thunder, split general. A face can't believe of looking at Yan North City. In front of Yan Beiqing, although he was still as usual, with a stiff cheek, and no emotion on his face, his eyes, which had always been unfathomable, were obviously a little serious and confused. Lord, is it because of the princess? Such a thought. Mo Ling then calmed down for a long time. A stiff face also began to vivid. He frowned and thought for a long time. Then he said, "It's probably the bottom of my heart is not happy. By the way, there's another saying that if I upset the vinegar jar, the vinegar is naturally very sour." Yan Beiqing's eyes were a little thoughtful, and his thin lips became tighter. After a long time he said, "Go back to the border town. It seems that things here have to be dealt with as soon as possible." It's still in the main hall of the palace, and Jiang Shi and others are all obediently sitting at the bottom, but they are not in the mood to continue the stalemate with them. She took out the Zhangfu gold seal directly and said, "You can see it clearly. This is Zhangfu gold seal. Now can I still command you?" Jiang Shi looked at the gold seal in the hand of Mo Shanghua and said, "How can you have this? Shouldn't it be in the hand of Mrs. Nan?" "Of course, the Lord has foresight. He wrote me a letter and asked me to give it to Mrs. Nan." Then he took the gold seal back. The flower head on the street did not lift her mouth. The gold seal in her hand was playing with her white and slender fingers, as if it was just a small object. When Jiang Shimi's head started to wrinkle again, his face was discontented. "Mrs. Nan is so soft and easy to cheat. Who knows if your letter is true or not?" Mo Shanghua raised her head and said in a deep voice, "Whether it's true or false, how can you be a man outside the house to talk about it?" Jiang Shi's face suddenly turned blue. He felt that his old face couldn't hang up. But after a long time, he couldn't say a word. His face became more and more ugly. Mo Shanghua doesn't put his iron blue face in his eyes at all. Seeing that he can't speak, he simply receives the gold seal and his face is slightly right. "Now that I am in charge of the palace again, I have to explain some things. I've read the previous books of all of you, and you know how many loopholes there are. Now the people in charge of Chiang Kai-shek are very critical of me. They slander me behind my back, but they also oppose me many times and refuse to discipline me. In this case, you can all leave your posts and go back to your hometown." After a pause, her eyes swept over Jiang Shi and Wang Guanshi, who had a good relationship with Jiang Shi. "I order you to clean up everything in one day and leave quickly." Jiang Shi rubbed and stood for a while, with a black face asked, "You are a woman who lives in a deep house. What qualifications do you have to directly withdraw from our posts? That is to say, you have to withdraw. It should be ordered by the Lord himself." Manager Jiang is right. What's more, we've already made up for those missing accounts. Why don't you bite them? Just because I am the princess of the prince and the hostess of Yuzhou. Even the people of Yuzhou have to listen to me, not to mention you? The beauty of flowers on the street suddenly chills. It's clear that sitting there, the whole person's temperament is just like a king on the top, overlooking the small people under the stage. You fart, you are clearly as a random order revenge." Wang Guanshi was blocked and could not say a word. On the contrary, it was Jiang Shi. His face turned red, but he still argued angrily. Mo Shanghua suddenly raised her eyes, and her eyes were as cold as the front. "Even if I take revenge, how can I?" This sentence made Jiang Shi completely stunned, his face green and white, more and more ugly, as if he had swallowed some filthy things, and could not spit out or swallow them. "Come on, take them all down." The flower eyes on the street were a bit impatient. "I didn't want to argue with Jiang Shi about these useless things." As soon as the words were over, The four boys rushed in, ignoring the struggle and howling of Jiang Shi and Wang Guanshi, and took Jiang Shi and Wang Guanshi and them down. It was not until the boy took people away that the house was completely quiet. The remaining two stewards witnessed the means of Mo Shanghua just now. At this time, they were also in danger. They wished they could not get up and run away immediately. Mo Shanghua's eyes swept away from the remaining two people, then settled on one of them, and walked towards the man with gentle steps. The man saw the flowers on the street stop in front of her, and felt like a needle. Zhang Guanshi dashed. Sure enough, the next second Murakami's peaceful and clear voice began to ring. Zhang he was more and more nervous. Unexpectedly, things were not what he had imagined. The flower on the street was smiling at him and said, "Now the shops under the control of Jiang Shi have no jurisdiction. Would you like to work harder?" At the same time, Zhang he felt relieved and he could not believe it. It took him a long time to recover from the shocking news. He quickly got up and knelt down. "I'm very honored. Thank you for your advice. Get up, please." Mo Shanghua gave Zhang He a hand, and his attitude was totally different from that of Zhang He before. "I know you are not the same as Jiang Shi and others. I hope you can do well in the future, and don't let me down." After a pause, she said, "By the way, the shop in charge of Wang has not been under the jurisdiction of anyone. I don't know if Zhang can recommend it to someone else?" One side of the steward from the beginning of the Schadenfreude, and then to envy, in today's, can't help but keep stretching his neck, want Zhang He to recommend himself. After all, writing is a piece of fat, no matter who can do it. Zhang He was appreciated by Mo Shanghua, and felt grateful. Seeing her asking, he immediately lowered his head to think about it seriously. After a long time, he said, "The pawnbroker under the slave is very smart. If the princess doesn't dislike it, the slave will call him here. Don't look at it. I'm sure I can rest assured of the person recommended by Manager Zhang." Mo Shanghua shakes her head, and her eyes are full of trust. "In this way, tomorrow you will directly take that gentleman to take over, and you won't have to come back to me again when you are taught by Haosheng." In this way, she not only recruited talents for herself, but also made Zhang He a friend of this person. This person will be grateful, and will be of better use in the future. Zhang He was also a wise man. He knelt down and wrote a big gift to the flowers on the street. He said, "Thank you for your kindness." Every word is solemn and rigorous. Mo Shanghua nodded and lifted him up. His eyes fell on another steward, and his voice was a little deep. "Steward Jiang and Steward Wang disappointed me. I hope you can learn from them, and don't have to have another accident." "Yes. Yes." The former is trembling and nervous, while the latter is not nervous at all, but respectful. Today's days are approaching summer day by day. Today's sunny weather has also produced some heat. Mo Shanghua stayed away from the house for a day. After having dinner in the evening, she strolled around the house and sat down in the pavilion. She played with a shallow cup of tea. Seeing that she seemed a little bored, Jinya came over and said, "Princess, I heard that Manager Jiang and Manager Wang are still in trouble now. Now and then they go to the runway shop and look like shrews." The flowers on the street were in high spirits, and their eyebrows were slightly raised. How did Zhang He deal with it? In fact, she had already noticed that picture. She thought that even if he was a little weak, he should not even be able to deal with Jiang Shi. If you really can't clean up, you really don't need to continue to do this job. It's not easy for Zhang to be bullied. At first, he just threw people out. Later, he closed the shop and stopped doing business. He couldn't even get in. Jiang was so angry that he couldn't do anything more. When Qinya said that, she couldn't help laughing. Her eyes and eyebrows were very lovely. He can't do business even if he makes trouble. It's a good way for Zhang He to do business. Mo Shanghua nodded, but the color of her eyes was still as plain as water. After a pause, she suddenly put down the cup in her hand and said, "Has the memorial been sent out? I forgot to ask, how long will it take to get to the Imperial City?" As Qinya tilted her head and thought about it, she said, "The Imperial City is far away from Yuzhou. Although it's fast, it can't be delivered in 3 or 2 days, or at least 10 days. However, I heard that the Emperor sympathizes with the Lord. and the memorial is always given as soon as March. March, the flowers on the street are calm and clear, and there is a kind of thoughtful color in their eyes. 3 months is enough to do a lot of things. It seems that we can make good use of this time in the future. Speaking of this, I can't help thinking of Yin Beicheng. My first reaction is, when will this guy come back? Qinya seems to see her thoughts. A face of gossip came together. Princess, what are you thinking? But I miss the Lord? No, the flower eyes on the street flashed, and the complexion was rare and unnatural, as if for fear of being found. Is the princess shy? Qinya covered her mouth with a smile, and her eyes were full of fun. This face is red, but she still has a hard mouth. Once upon a time, I heard that only a little girl would be like this. I didn't expect that such a serious person as the princess would be like this. It's really interesting. What she said was intended to make fun of him. Unexpectedly, he unconsciously touched his cheek. When he reacted, he could not help but feel a little embarrassed and annoyed. He quickly turned over. Just turned around, Qinya, who was smiling and trembling behind her, suddenly hissed, calmed down and saluted silently. Emo Shanghua only felt that there was no sound behind her, so she turned around again. Just turning around, I saw a man in a blue shirt behind her. The man had a medicine box on his back. He looked at her with a lot of weight. His eyebrows were pretty and elegant, and his body was full of bookish spirit. As soon as he saw the flower on the street turning around, he bent over and saluted. Princess. Dr. Lu. Emo Shanghua looked up and down for a while, and then nodded. Dr. Lu doesn't have to be polite. Sit down. Lu Zheng smiled slightly, also not polite, the medicine box solution next, then sat down in front of the flower on the street. I don't know how the princess has been. Why don't I feel the pulse for the princess? The flower on the street smiles politely at him and politely refuses. I'm always healthy. Dr. Lu doesn't have to worry about it. After a pause, she glanced at the medicine box on Lu Zheng's back and said, Dr. Lu, this time it's not like I asked for a safe pulse. But I forgot for a moment that the princess's medical skills were beyond the reach of others. How could her body be in trouble? Lu Zheng's lips smile slightly convergence, quite some self-mockery means. However, I this time is just passing by. What are you going to do? The flowers on the street picked up a sentence. Speaking of this, Lu Zheng frowned slightly and said, Yunji of Beiyuan is suffering from madness now. She used to wait on her maid to beg me. When I got free, I wanted to have a look first. When did she go mad? Say, Emo Shanghua also just no Cloud G crazy just, also haven't had time to inquire, see a ready-made person at the moment, then casually asked a sentence. Lu Zheng thought for a moment, Fong said. I'm not very clear either. I just heard that it seems that I went crazy after entering Beiyuan, and the specific reason is not very clear. The flowers on the street nodded slightly, and the color of thinking crossed their eyes. Xueji is vicious and jealous by nature. Her psychology should not be so fragile. Could someone have done something intentionally? Well, is it related to Pingji? Pingji has always been uneasy recently. If she can hold on to him, she will not be in trouble. Thinking about this, Emo Shanghua raised her head again. I've never been in contact with a madman before, and I also want to see him. Can Dr. Lu take me with me? Don't want to Lu Zheng eyebrow head but twist of more tight. The identity of the princess if go of words, afraid is not suitable. Emo Shanghua saw clearly the hesitation in his eyes, so he asked directly, Lu Yui has something to say. Lu Zheng didn't expect that Emo Shanghua would see through him so soon. He couldn't help but smile and ponder for a moment. He just said, there are so many rumors in the house now. They all relate Yunji's madness to the princess. If you go again, you may get more criticism. But there are some rumors. It doesn't matter. But did not think, the flower face on the street half of the unhappy color did not have a completely indifferent appearance. Since I entered the house, the rumors about me have never stopped. But so what, as long as I understand in my heart, people around me understand that those are just rumors, not facts. Lu Zheng didn't seem to think that Wuxia was so clear. He was shocked and admired. He has always believed that gossip is the most vulnerable thing to kill in the invisible, and the woman in front of her carries so many rumors in her body, but she is still free and easy to live, which shows how strong her heart should be. After a long time he took the corner of his lip and began to smile, as elegant as pine and bamboo. Lu Zheng admired the princess for her bearing. In that case, Lu Zheng had nothing to say. This time he didn't use Wei Chen to claim that, but Mo Shanghua was always slow in this aspect, so he didn't notice. He nodded and stood up. Please, Dr. Lu first. Lu Zheng's sitting place was also outside the pavilion near the steps. Seeing this, he did not refuse. He also nodded and carried the medicine box first. Beiyuan has been abandoned for a long time. Yunji has been locked in because of her big mistake, so no one has been sent to repair it. Today's Beiyuan is still dilapidated and overgrown. But when I entered the hospital, it was obvious that the weeds in the hospital had been slightly pruned, which was much less than that outside. Compared with the time, Yunji had already lost her former glory and beauty. She was dressed in coarse linen and her long hair was scattered. Now her face is waxy yellow, her eyes are dull standing in the yard, holding a weed in both hands. I don't know what she is thinking. Ma'am, it will be dark in a moment. It's cold at night. Please come in. Several people haven't entered the door yet, then see inside of the wing room in a hurry to rush out a maidservant, while saying, at the same time toward Cloud G walked. That Cloud G dull eyes this just moved to move. A turn Mao but toward the door of Mo Shanghua etc. saw to come over. Ah. Here comes the slut. Here comes the slut just now. Yin Jituan, who was in a stable mood, just like seeing ghosts, screamed and ran into the house. I'm crazy and I'm a slut. It's true that I don't change my nature. Qinya's face suddenly sank a few minutes. Can't help but hum a disgruntled spat a sentence. The maid then saw Mo Shanghua and others. She looked at the house anxiously, then ran to them and saluted. I see the princess, the imperial Dr. Lu, and the lady. She has been so crazy all the time. I hope the princess will forgive me. No harm. This matter did not cause Mo Shanghua's anger. She only said faintly, we are here to see your wife, take us in. Yinji and Mo Shanghua used to be mortal enemies, but the maid still had some worries and hesitated. The princess is just here to observe. This girl, please show me the way quickly. I will go to another place for consultation later. Time is running out. Seeing this, Lu Jing took the initiative to come forward and explain it carefully. The maid nodded, so please. With that, he gave way to the road and stood aside to lead the way. To spend a few people into the house, they see Cloud G already cage a thin quilt, hiding in the quilt shivering. Lu Jing glanced at the maidservant and said with a smile, please girl. Seeing that Lu Zheng was so elegant and respectful, the maid nodded her head like garlic, and went forward to calm her. Mo Shanghua knows that she is afraid that Yinji will be excited for a while, so she retreats and stands behind Lu Zheng. With the comfort of her maid, Yunji gradually calms down. Like an obedient child, she reaches out her hand and looks at Lu Zhengjunmai's cheek and laughs. Lu Zheng is completely unaffected and concentrates on feeling for Yunji. For a long time, his brow was tightly wrinkled again. There seemed to be confusion in his eyes, and he felt a headache because of the complexity of his illness. How? The flower on the street saw this and asked softly. Lu Zheng drew back his hand and stood up opposite to Mo Shanghua. Her pulse is normal. She can't see any major stimulation, and there is no sign of drug poisoning. But the more so, the more difficult it is to treat. In fact, everyone knows that this kind of madness can't be cured. At most, they just use drugs to suppress the patients when they are emotional. However, the purpose of Mo Shanghua is not to cure Yunji. So she stepped forward and said, let me have a look. She just stepped forward, and soon after Yunji recovered, she became excited again. She screamed in horror, and even was thrown down several times. Lu Zheng and the maidservant joined forces to hold the person down. Seeing this, the maid knelt down directly in front of the flower in the street and cried, Princess, please don't stimulate my wife anymore. Please move. Mo Shanghua takes a look at Yunji. She is still excited. After thinking about it, she knows that there are so many people at this time. Even if she can diagnose, it's not easy to perform. So she turns around and goes back. Qinya keeps up with her. Just out of the North Court, not long ago, Lu Zheng ran after her, panting with her side. Crazy people are like this. In fact, they are like children. The princess must not care. I don't think so. Dr. Lu can rest assured. Mo Shanghua shook his head. Ice color as usual, no waves. Lu Zheng sees this. In the heart this just small relief, one breath. Since so, Micro-Minister also wants to go out the mansion to treat for others, then leave temporarily. Dr. Lu walked slowly. Flowers on the street politely opened their mouth and watched Lu Zheng go away. Until Lu Zheng's figure gradually disappeared in front of him, the pace at his feet suddenly gave him a meal. Qinya, let's go back. Say then take the lead to turn around. Walk toward the north garden. Qinya's face is not clear, so she follows Mo Shanghua. She keeps asking, but Mo Shanghua doesn't explain much. She just lets her guard at the door and enters the inner room by herself. Yunji in the inner room is not as crazy as she was just now, but she is still like a child, holding the thin quilt wrapped around her body and crying without image. And that maidservant, at this time, is back to Mo Shanghua. Efforts to coax more than crying Cloud Ji. Mo Shanghua stealthily sweeps behind the maid. Without waiting for Yunji to scream, she suddenly raises her hand and knocks her out. Yunji screamed again, shivering, holding the quilt and shrinking towards the corner of the bed. Her eyes were like frightened animals, full of tears and fear, as if the flowers on the street were some kind of monsters that eat people and don't spit bones. Mo Shanghua stares at Yunji for a while. Suddenly she smiles like Yunji was twisted and vicious before. And her red lips start to look bad. Yunji, I'm the princess. How come you don't know me? Or are you afraid of me at all? And you don't even dare to brag in front of me? The color of fear in Yunji's eyes became more and more intense with the words of flowers on the street. The tears that had just been scared to stop suddenly came out again. I dare not, don't kill me, help, help. That pair of eyes full of fear has always been turbid and listless. A moment of clear color has not flashed. The flower on the road sees shape, simply cold next face, the facial expressionless sat down beside the bed. Leave Cloud G's position closer some. I don't want to kill you, but you always want my life. What should I do? She moves. Cloud G body also violently shakes, but can't retreat. Cry more loud, as if at any time will cry to death in the past. If you pretend, with Yunji's poor acting skills, I'm afraid you can't do it at all. At this point, Mo Shanghua just barely confirms it, and then he knocks Yunji in a hurry, and the noisy cry stops. Mo Shanghua's face regained its usual calm, and pulled Yunji's body toward her direction. Then she pulled her wrist and went forward to take pulse. A moment later, she stopped and took a look at Yunji's eyelids. Then she turned her head to the side and looked at it carefully. The result is the same as Lu Zheng. However, she and Lu Zheng have different views on whether they have been stimulated or not. She thinks that whether she is really stimulated or not may not be diagnosed. If you want to know, you need to have a long time of treatment and contact. After that, she got up again and looked at the room again. However, she saw that there was nothing useful in the room except some old furniture, and she could not find any clues, so she went back to the house. Until dinner, she was still thinking about the details of the matter. Qinya, you have always been very clear about the affairs in the mansion. Who has visited Yunji when she entered Beiyuan? The princess asked what she was doing. Are you really going to give her a good treatment? As soon as Qinya thought of what happened in Beiyuan today, she was not angry with the flowers on the street, and her face was not good. Unexpectedly, Mo Shanghua suddenly put down his chopsticks and said, "You are so impulsive and irritable. What can you do in the future?" Qinya wrongly looked at the flowers on the street. After thinking for a long time, she said in a low and inaudible voice, "I just can't stand the anger of the princess. If the princess doesn't like it, I will change it." Although the voice is small, but a word does not fall into the ear of Mo Shanghua. Her heart is touched and helpless, or cold, a pretty face, deep voice enunciation. In the future must not be so impetuous, if not, put down everything on hand, have a good rest for 2 days, wait for sober back to wait. Qinya changed her face and knelt down. I know I'm wrong. I won't dare to commit it in the future. Just know your mistake. Get up. Mo Shanghua just nodded, such as the front face slightly astringent. I eat well, I'll withdraw. Yes. Qinya bowed her head and called 2 maidservants to come, and took away the rest of the food on the table. Mo Shanghua was about to turn back to her bedroom. But suddenly there was a loud noise at the door. It seemed that someone was rushing in. Mo Shanghua stepped slightly, looking back toward the noisy door. Qinya immediately came over, and went out to check the situation, and then came back again saying, Back to the princess, is the people in Xueji Palace crying to see you? Xueji? Mo Shanghua frowned and thought about it for a long time. It seemed that it was the person who poisoned her as soon as she entered the mansion. I don't know what tricks she played this time. Let her in. I want to see what Xueji wants to sing. Mo Shanghua turned and sat back, light mouth. Qinya nodded, and went out with a command. Soon after, a maid in a floral jacket and skirt came in. When she saw the flowers in the street, she knelt down. Mo Shanghua's eyes swept around the maidservant's body and said, It's so late now. What's the matter with your master that he wants to send you here at this time? It's not like modern times. After dinner at this time, you can sleep in a short time. The maid sobbed and sobbed. Back to the princess, I don't know what's the matter with my master. He's vomiting and diarrhea. Now the imperial Dr. Lu is not in the house, and the maid can't get out of the house. There's no way. I'm here to ask you. After a pause, she went to her knees and took a few steps. She looked at the flowers with a begging face. Princess, your medical skills are excellent. Please go to save my wife. Please, I kowtow to you. Looking at the maidservant who kept kowtowing, there was no color of moving between his eyebrows and eyes. He just picked his lips and said, Yunji's maidservant just went to cry today and asked Lu Yui to see her. You came here this evening. It's really interesting. The maidservant's face turned white after a movement. She still gritted her teeth and said, It's just a coincidence. Princess, my wife is in an emergency. It can't be delayed. Said, then choked forward to grasp the skirt of flowers on the street. Qinya quickly stepped forward to block in front of the maidservant. Light scolded, Speak and speak, don't touch. The maid's body trembled, and she did not dare to move. Qinya retreated to one side. Mo Shanghua eyebrows indifferent looking at the maid. For a long time no language, but in the brain is thinking quickly. I don't know whether it's a blessing or a curse. Maybe there's a bureau waiting for her. But if she doesn't go, the play won't go on. Most importantly, she has to see if there's anything suspicious. After thinking about this, Mo Shanghua pretended to be hesitant for a long time, until the maidservant was anxious to kowtow again, and then nodded gently. In this case, I'll go with you. Qinya, take my medicine bag. Say, silent toward Qinya, sure a wink. Qinyadan came over and answered quickly. Then he went to the bedroom of Mo Shanghua. After searching, he came out with a cloth bag. Princess, I found it. Mo Shanghua took a look at the cloth bag and nodded. Let's go. When Mo Shanghua arrives at Xueji's house, she sees that all the maidservants in the house are anxious. Some maidservants have already started to cry. It's not Xueji who is crying, but she is afraid that what happened to Xueji will affect them. Xueji was lying on the bed, her eyes closed, and she fell asleep. Her face was as pale as paper, and her eyebrows were wrinkled subconsciously. Although the room was lit with incense, there was a faint smell of filth. Mo Shanghua didn't delay much. She glanced at Xueji's face and sat down beside the collapse. She began to feel her pulse step by step. In other words, it's acute gastroenteritis. What kind of medicine should she take to sleep now? What medicine did you give her? Mo Shanghua tucks Xueji's wrist back into the quilt, and turns her head to ask her maid. As she spoke, she stood up, as if thinking about something. She walked in the room, and her eyes swept the furnishings in the room quietly. Back to the princess, the maidservants saw that the lady was uncomfortable, so they took a bowl of onsen soup. Mo Shanghua said softly, In that case, your wife won't have anything else to do tonight. This is the token for going out of the house. Tomorrow morning you will go directly to ask Imperial Dr. Lu to come back, and have a close look. At that time, her eyes were fixed in front of the dresser for a moment, what flashed quickly in her eyes, and then she looked away. One of the corners of a blood jade bracelet was exposed in the jewelry case half opened on the dressing table. The quality of the bracelet is excellent, and it's also very familiar. If Mo Shanghua remembers correctly, the former owner of the bracelet is Yin Ji. She took it out to show off for a while, and then put it back. Now it's here. It seems that Xueji, who does not fight or rob on the surface, has colluded with Yenji secretly, and she did not do it alone. The maid kept her head down and didn't notice the move of Mo Shanghua. Just because her words were in a daze, she tried to open her mouth. "Princess, don't you need to make a prescription? I think that if my wife wakes up in the middle of the night, I'm afraid she will suffer again." Mo Shanghua refused to prescribe the prescription. She only got up and said faintly, "It's just one night. It's okay to go through." And in principle, the efficacy of this ancient decoction should not be so useless. And it should not wake up in the middle of the night. Just as they were saying this, Nanhe came in and bowed to her. Then he stepped in front of her and frowned at Xueji on the couch. "I just heard that Dr. Liu is on holiday tomorrow, and I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I won't be able to come tomorrow. I think you'd better prescribe a side-effect medicine for Sister Shui." She had just listened outside for a while. Naturally, she knew everything. Now she began to persuade her. The color of wariness at the bottom of the flower eyes on the street suddenly came into being. Knowing that it was not easy, he said, "Yuzhou doctors with excellent medical skills are everywhere. Without Liu doctor, there are others. Why do you hold on to me?" Although she said that on the face, she always felt in her heart that if people like Nanhe really wanted to harm her, they would not have to use such a bad method. I'm afraid the princess misunderstood. South Crane is still full of worry, for the meaning between the lines in the words of Mo Shanghua just don't know this. As she said this, she quietly avoided other people's eyes and ears and talked about a green jade the size of a nail, which hit Xueji's acupoint. Because she was just standing in front of the collapse, she blocked the eyes of others, but no one found out for a moment. In the eyes of the public, it is the South Crane said half of the words. Xueji suddenly woke up. As soon as Xueji wakes up, she immediately supports the bed and makes a gesture to vomit. The maid on one side quickly bypasses Nanhe and takes a wooden basin. The smell of filth is hard to hide in the room. Nanhe turned his head and looked at the flowers on the street. "Princess, you see Sister Shui, she has suffered so much. If not, she will be treated first." Mo Shanghua thought that he would do everything he could, but then he thought that although Nanhe's poor, if he really succeeded, it would be very effective. In this way, she'd better stay out of it. Thinking, Mo Shanghua simply raised her hand and stroked her forehead, her voice lowered. "My head, it hurts." While talking, another empty hand is put on Qinya. Qinya helps her with both hands. Taking advantage of this opportunity, she grabs Qinya's wrist slightly. Qinya was worried about the anxiety in her heart. Now she suddenly reacted and cried out, "Is it a headache again? Princess, you insist. I'll take you back." Then he turned to Nanhe and said, "Madam Nanhe, the princess is not well. She is too busy for herself. You'd better go out of the house to get medical treatment for Madam Shui. I'll leave first." The South Crane Malbottom once crossed a wipe of dark color, but had to nod on the face. "Princess's body is important. Still quick, some take her to go back. Don't delay to cure." Qinya reluctantly nodded her head, and then she helped Mo Shanghua out. Out of Xueji's yard, the flower on the street straightened up again, and turned to look at the brightly lit yard behind her. Her eyes were a little dark. Looking at the current situation, Xueji is also in collusion with Nanji plus Pingji, so the three of them are really enough to sing a big play. I don't know that the princess has such kung fu that she almost cheated me. Before I could think of it, Qinya's chirping voice came back from behind. Mo Shanghua collected her thoughts, turned around and said, "I'm just tired, I don't want to waste words with her." Just then, she turned into the secluded garden. Qinya was about to open her mouth, but she suddenly pulled Qinya and hissed her, "Not far in front of me. A man dressed as a maid was peering around in a path with sparse vegetation. He saw that no one was able to move on. She also collapsed a woven basket in her hand, which was covered with a handkerchief with broken flowers. She couldn't see what was inside. Take a close look. The maidservant's cheek is actually Pingji's appearance. Give me the medicine bag. Emo Shanghua Mao Guang a coagulate, low-voiced dynasty after death of Qinya command. Qinya takes out the medicine bag and hands it to Emo Shanghua. He is very clever and doesn't ask much for fear of scaring the snake. Emo Shanghua took the medicine bag, took a few small porcelain vases from it, and handed the medicine bag to Qinya again. You don't have to be in the hospital first. I don't have to be here. With that, she ran after Pingji and followed her quietly. Pingji is just an ordinary person and doesn't have any martial arts skills. Therefore, it doesn't take any trouble to follow the flowers on the street, and Pingji has never found out. Following Pingji's 7 turns and 8 turns, she arrived at Beiyuan without any accident. Pingji looked around in front of Beiyuan for a while, then carefully pushed the door of Beiyuan and entered. Emo Shanghua busy also followed to go in, see no one in the courtyard, then entered the inner room again. The house is still empty, not to mention Pingji. Even Yanji and the maid are missing. The flower eye color on the street instantly coagulates, and scans around the house in a leisurely manner, and says in a loud voice, "I've arrived and you can come out." The dark room was still dead. A burst of white smoke slowly poured into the gap under the closed wooden door, and spread towards the house. Emo Shanghua stood in the same place without changing his face. After a long time, he suddenly changed his face and covered his head tightly with one hand. Toxic. With that, she quickly raised her hand to seal her acupoints, so as to avoid the spread of the poison. Then she would stagger to open the door. Before she got close to the door, the old carved wooden door opened from the outside, and a person wrapped in a black cloak came in. She was petite, and she should be a woman. The woman's body was covered with a layer of awe. As soon as she entered the room, she directly took out a soft sword from her waist and stabbed it at the flowers on the street. In the deep night, his body is as fast as a ghost, and his eyes are bright and bright. At this time, he is full of killing intention and a bit of cold-blooded and merciless color. Emo Shanghua Mao Guang and that I looked at each other for a moment, and his heart was awe-inspiring. No longer the previous poison posture. He immediately drew out his dagger to fight against it. No matter how fast the move was, he was not inferior to that woman. For a moment, the sound of blade collision in the room was heard all the time. With a bang, a table was shattered by the hands of the flowers on the street, and the smoke and dust in the house were everywhere. The flowers on the street took this opportunity to sweep up the woman's cloak like electricity. As soon as the cloak was lifted, the flower eyes on the street flashed a little surprised. "It's you. I thought it was you who sent it, but now I don't think so." In front of him, the cloaker took off his cover, and his cheek was bright and beautiful. It was Nanji and Nanha. At this time, the South Crane is no longer as gentle and elegant as before, with charming lips and delicate jaw raised slightly. "Yes, it's really me, but so what? I'm not as good as others now, and you can't do anything to me." Emo Shanghua steps forward slowly, and the dagger plays back and forth between her slender fingers like a doll. Han Meng is particularly attractive. "If I kill you, what about pushing it to Yunji, who is already crazy?" After a pause, she had a deep voice. "If I had guessed right, it would have been your plan." In fact, Emo Shanghua is not sure. After all, Nanhe's not as good at martial arts as she is. If so, why not find more people? However, she did not know, and Nanha never thought that her martial arts had reached such a level. At that time, the South Crane listened to her words, but did not angry smile, eyes full of irony. "You think you really can kill me? Or dare you kill me?" The last sentence is even more arrogant. Eyebrows and eyes are therefore more and more open up. "You are just a concubine. How dare I?" Emo Shanghua quietly looks at the South Crane, who shows his true colors, and his eyes are so calm. South Crane lips corner irony of loneliness more and more big. She walks slowly to Emo Shanghua in front. "Just way. Ordinary? Don't forget, I'm the one with the sharp heart of the Lord. You won't let me do anything anyway. You are not qualified to kill me. Besides, if I really die at your hands, I'm sure you'll never live 3 days. If she died, Yan Beiqing still wanted to defend this bitch. Her subordinates would not agree, and they would have to avenge her. Mo Shanghua eyebrow tipped this just slightly pick to pick. The Mao inside quickly delimits a few minutes dark color. Do you really think Yan North City will care about your life and death? How he dotes on you. You're just a concubine, and I'm the princess, and I'm from the imperial city. I'm worth more than you. The South Crane is not angry at all. The corner of the mouth is uncanny of startup. Is so wait for the future to see to know. As soon as the voice fell, the wooden door creaked again. It was pushed open from the outside. It was Yanji who had disappeared from the beginning. She ran in madly. When she saw them, she yelled ghost, and sat down on the ground, crying with tears on her face. She kept calling the maid who was waiting for her, but no one came. A fierce color flashed in the South Crane's eyes. Without hesitation, he grabbed Yanji. With a flash of cold light in his hand, a piece of software went directly through Yanji's chest, and then threw it on the flower. Mo Shanghua could have dodged, but at the critical moment, she dodged in her eyes, pretended to dodge, caught Yanji directly, looked down at her wound, and stabbed a silver needle into one of her acupoints quietly. When she looked up, she saw that Nanha had quickly taken off her cloak, turned it over and tied it back on her body. The black cloak changed and became her usual dress style. At the same time, the courtyard also sounded disorderly footsteps closer and closer. Before anyone came in, Nanha opened the door in horror. Help, help, help. Who's there? It seems to be Mrs. Nan. It's really Mrs. Nan. Go and have a look. After the noise of discussion, the group of people came closer to this side. Lanterns and candlesticks were also lit in the dark courtyard. As soon as Pingji saw that the South Crane came out, she quickly crossed a successful color in her eyes, and hurriedly came forward to meet the South Crane. Yuaner also rushed in at this time, and came to the South Crane's side. Madam, I have found you. How did you come here by yourself? Nanha didn't look at Yuaner. Instead, he took Pingji by the hand. His beautiful eyes were full of panic and fear. His words were incoherent. Sister Ping, princess is crazy. She killed Sister Yanji. What? A word aroused 1,000 waves, and everyone was shocked. When they rushed into the house, they saw Yanji lying on the ground, her eyes closed. They didn't know whether the blood was exhausted or how. The blood had stopped, but the blood was still dripping on her chest, which was very shocking. Most of the attendants were little maids, and they were pale with fright, but they didn't dare to move because there was no Nanha Pingji. Pingji looked at Yanji lying on the ground. She stepped back a few steps. She looked at the flowers on the street in surprise and anger. She said sadly, even though Yanji's sister had done something wrong to the princess before, she's crazy now, and her life here is worse than death. Why does the princess want to kill her? Mo Shanghua's Mao Guang quietly glanced at the South Crane beside him. His eyes were always calm and cold. Which eye of yours saw that I killed Yunji? Pingji pointed to the soft sword stained with blood on the ground. The material evidence is here, and Sister Nan's certification is here. How can you deny it? Then she slowed down her voice and comforted Nanha beside her. Sister Nan, don't be afraid. Since she dares to do such a vicious thing, the Lord will not shield her when she comes back. Come and tell us what you see. Nanhe took a few deep breaths and tried to calm down his emotions. After a while he said, I just went to see Sister Shui. When I came out from Sister Shui, I let Yuaner stay outside and I came in alone. Did not expect to just come in, see Princess Crazy General, Cloud Ji a sword stabbed to death at this point. Her face showed a bit of palpitation, as if she had really experienced the general. Princess, she will kill me, if not for your sister. You come in time, I am afraid I will die at this time. Pingji's eyes quickly passed the color of excitement, and then realized that it was time to celebrate. She hurriedly suppressed the excitement in her heart and looked coldly at the flowers on the street. The prince's crime is like the common people's crime. Someone came to arrest this vicious woman and shut her up in the Chaifeng. waiting for the Lord to come back to deal with it. Who dares to move? A few boys just moved their steps. The flowers in the street swept away. Their voice was as cold as ice. With a little dignity, they froze in the same place and did not dare to move. Mo Shanghua's eyes fell on the faces of Nanhe and Pingji. Their eyes were dark and deep, but they were full of extraordinary power, which inspired people's hearts. Her ruddy lips picked lightly, but her words were very cold. Just by your words, you want to convict me? Don't say these words can't prove anything at all. It's just that what happened today is really what I did. As concubines who don't even have any rank and file, you are not qualified to move me even if you say, the prince has committed the same crime as the common people. After a pause she said, the following offense is a capital crime. This word say not only a round of small C maidservant all don't dare to move. Even flat G is also angry complexion iron green, bite a tooth to find to refute of words. Nanha however was afraid. He said calmly, we have never planned to deal with the princess privately, but now the evidence is solid. We have to ask for an explanation for Yanji's elder sister. And we have to wait for the Lord to come back to make a decision. Mo Shanghua stares at Nanhe for a while. She makes a slight mockery in her eyes. She picks the corner of her lips and says, good evidence. Since you are so sure, I will show you the real evidence as you wish. Said, don't wait for South Crane reaction come over. Her body then like streamer general quickly swept to South Crane in front. Nanha's eyes suddenly changed, but now there are so many people with mixed eyes that they can't use their body method, so they quickly stepped back, pretended to be pale and cried. The princess is stimulated, she's delirious, she's hurting people. Don't you stop her soon. The bodyguard was shocked by the words of Mo Shanghua just now. In addition, Mo Shanghua's speed was too fast, so he couldn't react at all. When he came back to his senses, Mo Shanghua had already grasped the cloak of slow heat. Nanha's pupil shrinks slightly, and he seems to be in a hurry to grasp his cloak. In fact, he uses some internal power in it, and the two people are in a stalemate. Seeing this, Pingji pointed to those maidservants and said angrily, a bunch of useless things, can't you see the princess crazy? If anything happens to the princess and Mrs. Nan, your 10 heads are not enough. The maidservants were awakened by the shock. Generally, the maidservants didn't move. The maidservants came forward to help, and wanted to separate them. Nanha secretly scolds Pingji for being stupid. These maidservants just grab their clothes and want to separate them in this way. She is different from Mo Shanghua. She is determined not to expose her martial arts. Therefore, she has to take in her internal power, and retreat along the strength of her maid. Mo Shanghua naturally knows that Nanha will never tear off the mask on his face, so he seizes the opportunity and pulls his maidservants away. Then he pulls down Nanha's cloak. The color of the South Crane's eyes changed slightly, and the plain hands under the wide-sleeve robe clenched slightly. The eyes could not help staring at the cape in the hand of the flower on the street. Mo Shanghua steps back and turns over the cloak he just captured, revealing the dark side that Nanhe used to wear when he assassinated Mo Shanghua. Her lips are slightly red. Nanji, you keep saying that I killed Yanji. You just happened to find it. Can you explain why there is blood on your cloak? Nanha squeezed his hand tightly, trying to maintain his face, not showing half a flaw. This bloodstain is Sister Yun's. As for why, the princess should not be very clear in her heart. Since it's not a shameful disease, why do you want to wear the cloak back and hide the blood from others? Why is it that the blood on your body is less than half of that of a person who intrudes carelessly? Mo Shanghua's calm eyes were looking at the South Crane, and his voice was deep. South Crane a choke, changed to have time to refute. One side of the Pingji eyebrows and eyes obviously show a little uneasy, busy way. You don't bewitch people, maybe this is the evidence that you want to blame. Who knows you? Shut up, a word is not finished. Mo Shanghua then cold mouth sweeps to Pingji. She suddenly feels like the edge of the blade across the neck in general. Originally wanted to say words is a word all spit out. After a pause, the Southern Crane seemed to be stunned for a while. The flower on the street said, I'll help you explain. Naturally, you are the real murderer. The blood on the cloak is the evidence, and the software on the ground is your weapon. Nanha pinched the palm of his hand, and his eyes suddenly burst into tears. I know that the princess has not liked me. If the princess is still angry that I am late in returning the right to take charge of the government for a few days, I am willing to do anything to make the princess calm down, but I dare not do such things. I hope the princess will let me go," said, then knelt down in front of the flowers on the street, eyes slightly red, a pair of grievance to cry. At first, people were suspicious of Nanha because of her words. Now, seeing that Nanha is so aggrieved and thinking of her gentle and elegant appearance in the mansion, they can't help but turn to her side. The color of irony in the flower eyes on the street is getting stronger and stronger, and the cloak is placed on the ground flat, so that people can see clearly. Your words are turning fast. As soon as you see the evidence is placed in front of you, you can't stop crying. Just now it's still powerful and majestic? South Crane, secretly not a silver tooth, has not spoken. Mo Shanghua sneered and said, "Well, since you don't admit it, I'll tell you something. Your sword is a bit biased. Yunji is not dead. Besides her, I can cure her madness. At that time, everyone will know what the truth is." With the words of flowers falling on the street, the color of South Crane's eyes flashed with the speed visible to the naked eye, a bit shocked, and the simple hands that had just loosened were tightly squeezed together. Pingji also couldn't believe it. She widened her eyes and exclaimed, What are you talking about? How is this possible? Even if it's Dr. Liu, one of these two things may not be possible. I never exaggerate. The color of flowers on the street remains unchanged, and the black and white eyes are full of confidence. The South Crane in the heart inexplicably trembled for a while, the busy death pressure in the heart of shock, uneasy way. Can you appear here in the middle of the night? How to explain? Before the flower on the street opened its mouth, there was a rush of footsteps outside the door. Then Chinya came to the flower on the street with a medicine bag on her back. Princess, the maid brought the medicine made by Lu Yui. After a pause, she looked around with a puzzled face. What's the matter? How so many people are here? Mo Shanghua didn't explain. She just took the medicine bag and said, I just went out of Xueji's place. Suddenly, I remembered that he had asked me to bring medicine to Yunji, because he was not in the house these 2 days after he came to treat Xueji with Imperial Dr. Lu last time. That's why he came here to deliver the medicine. Chinya looked like she didn't understand, but she added, The doctor is kind-hearted. Although the princess had some previous festivals with Yunji, she is also a doctor. Naturally, she has no reason to refuse Liu Yui. In this way, the reason seems to become reasonable again. For a time, people looked different. Mo Shanghua saw that everyone was silent, so she struck while the iron was hot and said, Since everyone has their own opinions and no one is willing to admit it, it's better to let Nanji and I ban our feet separately. After Yunji is cured, we'll come to settle the case. If she really points to me, you don't have to say, I'll plead guilty to the Lord myself. Speaking of the back, she turned her eyes to see Nanha's tail slightly elongated, with deep meaning in her words. But if Yunji points to you. Nanji stood up, her face had recovered as usual, but it was different from usual, and she was gentle and strong. If Yunji refers to me, I would like to apologize to the prince and princess. No, the color of the flower eyes on the street is suddenly cold, as sharp as an ice blade. Your crime of slander must not be less. The South Jimao bottom once crossed a bit hate color, as well as a bit slightly satirize. Good if really so maidservant concubine is willing. With Yunji's current state, it's not easy to save her life. How can there be other results? She doesn't believe that Mo Shanghua can really cure Yunji. More importantly, she will never give me a chance to spend. At this time, Huamao color on the street has returned to the usual calm, eyes away from the South Crane, swept one by one in the face of the people. Before the matter is thoroughly investigated, I and Nanji are suspected. From now on, I and Nanha will be banned in their respective hospitals. In order to facilitate my treatment, Yunji also moved to my hospital. Pingji heart suddenly feel wrong, busy way. No, who knows you can cure? If I can't cure it, I'll leave everything to the Lord. Mo Shanghua didn't even think about it. She answered without hesitation. Pingji also want to say more. Nanji will stop her, according to the princess said. She is the Lord's right hand. Even if she does get there, she also believes that the Lord will never abandon her because of that useless woman. Even if the Lord really intends to abandon her, and she will never let this woman stay. After all, there was a grudging saying about the matter, and people left one after another without any reason to stay. Mo Shanghua sees the crowd retreat, and goes to Yunji, who has been lying on the ground for a long time and no one cares about her, and probes her nose. Lying for such a long time, Yunji, who had only one breath left, was so weak that her breath was almost inaudible. Fortunately, the blood from the wound was no longer flowing. Give me the bag. Take 2 candlesticks and put them on both sides. The flower's head on the street is not raised, and orders in a low voice. Qin Yaji didn't speak much at this time. He nodded his head and took things over. Mo Shanghua took out the scissors in the medicine bag, and cut the clothes that Yunji's blood had coagulated for a few minutes. He said, "Go to prepare a basin of warm water as soon as possible. When you go back, take more gauze, take a set of clothes, and bring some boys back to stay outside." Qinya didn't dare to delay. She turned around and trotted away. Soon she was panting and came in with the gauze. Mo Shanghua is paying attention to the treatment, cleaning the wound, sewing hemostasis again. Every step is done carefully. His hands are not half of the contempt. It took 2 hours to stabilize Yunji's injury. Mo Shanghua wiped the sweat on his forehead and looked down at Yunji in a coma. Qinya, change his clothes for him. Qinya held her breath for a long time, and saw that she had a place of her own. Although she was serving Yunji, she didn't want to say anything. She came forward to help change clothes. When the clothes were changed, Mo Shanghua called in the little guy who was guarding outside, and told them to put Yunji on a door, so he carried her back to the dockyard. At that time, the night was already very deep, and the flowers on the street were very tired. They ordered a few people to look at Yunji, and then they fell asleep. Everything in the palace is watched by Yan Beiqing's dark guards. Everything can't escape these carefully trained dark guards. A dark way is about to report all the things that happened tonight to Yan Beiqing. Before he can send the secret letter, he suddenly reaches out a hand and grabs the secret letter from him. The dark guard was surprised. When he saw who was coming, his eyebrows suddenly wrinkled. "Sister Nanha, this letter is sent every day according to the Lord's command. It's too late today. You can't delay it. Please return the letter." As if he had never heard of it, Nanhe not only didn't return it, but also opened the secret letter, and took out the letter paper. It's too late, and there's no need to be too late. The south crane one side droops the mouth looking at the contents on the letter paper. One side quite don't care of open mouth. The dark way sees this, also have to temporarily quiet down. It is not surprising that what is written in the letter is what happened today. However, the letter also unexpectedly wrote out the whole truth of the whole thing, with a note at the end that the princess has rested safely. It's obvious that the secret guards are afraid of Yan Beiqing's worries, so they mark a sentence like this, which should be noted every day. If not, with Yan Beiqing's character, seeing this, he would only feel superfluous. He would reprimand them all and forbid to ask any more questions. In this way, it was the Lord's personal instruction. The south crane's eye bottom crossed a touch of jealousy color, and the hand holding the letter paper could not help but make a little effort to deform the edge of the letter paper. Darkway sees this, eyebrows all ring up, busy want to grab letter paper. South crane but at this time returned to God, will hand toward the position in front of the body received. You are not afraid of trouble, day by day send. We will obey the Lord's orders. Sister Nanha, aren't you? The Darkway smiles and says casually. The south crane mau color shoe of a cold, the lip cape evokes a few fun light to mock. Nature is. After a pause, she put the things in her hand into the envelope again and said, I'll deliver the letter for you. You don't have to worry about it. In fact, he was only responsible for delivering the letter. He didn't know the content of the letter, but he always felt insecure and hesitated. Seeing this, Nanhe stepped forward and said, I thought that you would be punished if you were late today. I thought that I could send you another letter by the way, and I could find a reason to prevaricate for you. Since you don't want to, I don't want to force you. Then he put the letter into the dark way's hand and turned to go. Ah, Sister Nanha, wait for you. Just after walking a few steps, the boy behind him called out, but the South Crane didn't turn back. He just straightened up and said in a cold voice, I'm most tired of being suspected in my life. Don't bother me anymore. The dark way just hissed and didn't dare to shout. However, at the moment, Nan He, who was supposed to be full of anger, had a slight radiance on his lips, a sarcastic and disdainful look on his brows, a slight chin, and a faint sense of satisfaction. The night was cool. The soldiers at the gate of the city were leaning against the wall of the outer city. They were in a sleepy state, and the gate of the city was a lonely place. A carriage quickly drove to the gate, stopped in front of the gate, and then got off several people, some of them hiding in the side of the gate, standing close to the wall. The rest of the 2 people see this will go forward, force the big city gate, and shout, Officer, open the door, officer. After a long time, the soldiers who guarded the city were awakened, but they did not open the door. Instead, they stood on the tower and looked down. They said impatiently, Who comes here in the middle of the night? Don't you know that the city gate will be locked after Sushur? The leader's face was smooth. Seeing this, he quickly raised his head and raised his voice and said, Officer, we are from a neighboring country in business, but our master is suffering from an emergency. We really can't help it. The land outside the city is so desolate that we can't find a doctor, so we have to leave the caravan and come to the city for medical treatment. The soldiers on the tower looked around the carriage below, but they still didn't move. The gate can't be opened. You can find another place. Officer, why don't you come out and have a look? We're really going to die, otherwise it won't be like this. The soldier couldn't see clearly from the top of the castle, and then he didn't know what to think. He yelled wait and came down. He opened a crack in the city gate and looked at the person standing in front of him. Before he could open his mouth, the former slick man hurriedly came up and smilingly stuffed a bulging purse into the soldier's hand. Sir, please do me a favor. The soldier bumped the money bag in his hand, but at the corner of his mouth he didn't notice that there was someone beside the city wall. People, let me have a look. The man smiles and leads others forward. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the 3 people who had been hiding in the city wall slipped in quietly from the gate that had not been closed. Under the silver moonlight, at the foot of the city wall where the 3 were hiding, a few drops of red blood were imprinted on the ground like a brand iron. The soldier, however, did not let go when he saw that there was a real person. He just told them to wait and find a doctor. Then there was no follow-up. Yen Beiqing looked at the secret letter in his hand. After reading it carefully, the dark color at the bottom of his eyes suddenly became dark, and the secret letter in his hand suddenly turned into powder. After that, Mo Ling felt bad. After thinking about it, he said, Lord, what's the matter? He had a hunch in his heart that the great event that could make Yen Beiqing angry had to be related to Mo Shanghua. Yen Beiqing's eyes were dangerously black, and his whole body was cold. The secret letter is false. I'm afraid that someone has been disturbed. There was nothing wrong with the secret letter. The handwriting was the same as usual, but the handwriting was not strong enough. It seemed that it was from a woman. Mo Ling was surprised, and a possibility in his heart was faintly beating out. He couldn't help but cautiously explore. Is it difficult to be as that Nanha girl? Yen North City did not answer. Mo Ling know that he is so tacit, a cold heart frowned tightly. Nanha is still very useful now. If she did it, it would be troublesome. Thinking about this, he quickly changed the topic and said, By the way, Lord, we have received the news that those people have entered the city. Well, Yen Beiqing made a nasal sound from his nose, and then threw a token to Mo Ling. You are here to clean up the mess. Everyone can listen to you. In addition, immediately prepare a fast horse. I want to go back first. Mo Ling Mei twisted his head, and his face showed hesitation. But Lord, the troubles left by those people are not small. Many of them need you to do it yourself. You can't leave until the next day at the earliest. Yan Beiqing's eyebrows were slightly wrinkled. His eyebrows were dyed with some strange color. But for a moment he became more and more cold and indifferent. I'll call everyone up in a moment. I can't delay it for half a moment, and tomorrow is the same. Yes. Mo Ling wanted to ask more questions, but when he saw Yan Beiqing's cold face, he couldn't ask any more, so he had to answer. Take a rest too. Don't delay tomorrow. When Yan Beiqing saw that Mo Ling was still not going, he casually said that until Mo Ling was far away, he was still alone in the house, with a deep look in his eyes and could not see what he thought. Mos Hanghua knows that Nanha is a smart person. She will probably guess that she is afraid that Nanha will send someone to kill her. She must think that she will take precautions today, so she won't send someone to kill her. After a few days, she will relax her vigilance. As a result, Mo Shanghua had a very stable sleep that night. In the early morning of the next day, Qinya came to wait on her to get up and wash up. As expected, she said, "Princess, what you expected is really good. There was really no big change last night." After a pause, her voice changed. "However, I was afraid that the others would not bear it, so I arranged more reliable people to watch quietly in the house. When I changed shifts in the middle of the night, I caught a maid princess who was trying to do something wrong. Would you like to have a look?" "Look, it's natural to have a look. Otherwise, how can the master behind her know?" On the street, there is a fine sharp color in the flower eyes, which is like the petal of a flower. Yes. Qinya put down the bamboo grate in her hand and whispered 2 orders to the boy at the door. After a while, a maid was escorted in by 2 boys. As soon as the maid came in, she knelt down on the ground and began to tremble. "Maid, I've seen the princess." Seeing her maidservant like this, Qinya stopped humming and said in a low voice, "Since you dare to do this kind of work, why are you afraid to be like this? Now you haven't suffered anything. I'm not going to turn away later." Although the voice is small, but still clear into the maid's ears, her body will shake more severe. How cruel is Mo Shanghua's wrist? No one in the mansion knows. How can she not be afraid now? Mo Shanghua sits upright in front of the dresser. He is still indifferent between his eyebrows and eyes. He doesn't know whether he is happy or angry, but he makes people feel angry for no reason. Time has always been precious. I have many things to do today. I don't want to waste the precious time, so you can tell me by yourself, lest I always ask for trouble. Said, her eyes like water light turn, young open a bit of fierce color. If the delay for a long time, delayed my things or half false, you will be thinking about, in the end, how to make amends. The word, make amends, was repeated in her mouth, as if she had given a verdict. It also made the maidservant clearly realize that the man in front of her could easily decide her life and death, and she had no choice. The maid looked up at the flower on the street, which was still calm and calm. She was more and more frightened. She bit her teeth and thought for a while. Then she didn't dare to delay any more. She was busy confessing. Back to the princess maidservant. When she was first arranged to come to the dockyard to serve, she got the greeting of Mrs. Yun and asked her to stare at you. But she didn't dare and didn't have a chance to send reliable information. Later, Mrs. Yun was useless, so she followed Mrs. Ping. So what she told you to do yesterday? The flowers on the street have been expected long ago, but the words are still calm. Maidservant listened to Mo Shanghua's tone. Then also understand Mo Shanghua actually know everything, more and more chilly, busy nod like pound garlic. Qinya came forward with a bad complexion and a cold voice. Although she is honest, she is also something to eat. Princess, she should be punished. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.